Hello. Almost there. Almost there. I promise. Was there like maybe a better way you could have said that, Furry Cures? 5 days until the birthday a bee celebrates his birthday? Like, is it your birthday? Is it your birthday that's going off in like 5 days? Is that it? What's going off in 5 days? Hang on a second. That's December 21st. I'm gonna be real, I don't know if I'm gonna be streaming that day. I honestly don't know what my streaming thingy-majiggy is gonna be like once I go on like proper holidays, I should say. Like I have this like maybe this is gonna be a fun time to explain to you like some of the shit that goes off. Now, it happens more often as the years go on, I feel, but I have these dreams that happen, and a lot of the time they're like fucking like just banal. They're not that important or anything like that. It's usually just me in either some.
Suck a lemon.
You go suck a lemon. I'm explaining things right now. You do this every time. It's not productive. Sorry, hang on. Adjust that. There we go. All right. So, I get these dreams, and they're banal. They're never I'm not talking the crazy ones where it's like, oh hey, you're running from like werewolves while conducting magic off the back of like the King of England's like limousine or some shit like that. No, the things that I have going off in my life instead, the things that are going off in my dreams are instead things like me in the middle of playing Minecraft on my PC, or me at work conversing on a particular topic. Like, things that could definitely be done in real life. And then, like, I don't think about it too hard, like, when that happens. And then, like, maybe months down the track, or maybe weeks if it's somehow coincidence, but months down the track, something will happen in real life. And there'll just be this moment of, like, I dreamt this. This has happened in a dream, and now it's happening now. And every time I say this, they're like, oh, that's deja vu. No, that's not deja vu. Deja vu is the illusion of like, oh, you've experienced this event before. I didn't experience this. It was in a dream of all things, which is even crazier because it means my brain like came up with this fucking thing, not me living whatever my life is or something like that. A dream. Like, from fucking months ago. And this annoys me, because the thing is that... Then, what do you call... I don't know what to call it, because, like, if it's a premonition, that's fucking spooky, because some of the dreams that I get, I'm just being shouted at. Like, and I'm not talking about, like, oh, reliving, like, a moment from, like, fucking years ago when my dad shouted at me or something like that. I'm talking, like... my boss, I distinctly think in the dream my boss upset with me and shouting at me, and it's like this is the thing. I think this is the part that gets people, that I don't tell too often to the people at work when I tell them about these, like, oh, I had a dream about this like conversation we just went through, and the person that's just, you know, sort of interrupted our conversation and then fucked off again, is the fact that like some of the dreams, like the ones that I remember that I had, are ones where I'm being shouted at. I don't want to be in this dream kind of thing. And it's not like, and it's like, sure, there are dreams that I have that I don't want to be in, like me trying to crawl through like an alleyway or something and accidentally falling on a nest of spiders, and all these spiders are around me, and then me waking up in a fucking like shiver because I'm like, oh god, where's the spiders? It's not those. It's like these weird ones where I'm just like I'm just stuck there watching my life do its thing. You had a dream where your boss was complaining about your usual stuff and you snapped and chewed him out, took vacation for the whole next week. Damn. But yeah, like, it's... And here's the thing, is, like, I had this Minecraft thingy-majiggy going off. We were, like, doing fishing or something in Minecraft. And the conversation about, like, libraries or some shit like that. And that one I had a dream about years ago. I don't have a dream to, oh, you can't do it yourself too quickly on Furry Cures. People have to... Oh, so, hi there, I'm Benru. Hi there, Ernie Zach. Welcome to the stream. Like, I don't have dreams of me, like, super old. I have dreams of me, like, my age, right? Or I feel like my age now kind of thing. It never feels like, oh my god, what kind of rating is that? 9%? That's really low. Like, goodness gracious. Absolutely maddening. I don't know how to feel or think about some of that shit that happens. Anyway, I am right now, like, doing some things. Oh, they invited me into... That's why that thingamajiggy popped up. Alright, so then that thingamajiggy is there, and then this thingamajiggy is there. Close that, because I don't want to get distracted by boobies and what have you. Your himbo... Your himbo is too high. 90%. Look, 99%. Your personality. 99% himbo cute. It's amazing. Wait, what's this? Hang on. Someone's doing a. What is this song? Hi there, Sarah. Welcome to the stream. Let's see how cute you are. Damn, 86%. Nice work. You cute. Alrighty then. Enough dicking around and having my moment of like.
What if we held hands as a treat?
We're not going to be holding hands. Very curious. I'm sorry to say. Your vibe check doesn't hit off for me.
Go suck a lemon.
See. So yeah, had to change your profile pic before I tried the himbo meter. Yes. 44%. Excellent himbo rating. It probably got higher because of that profile image change. Nice work. Speaking of hang on a second. Speaking of like profile images and such like that, I got a new piece of art. I got a new piece of art. And it's fucking amazing. You can check it out on Blue Sky. I retweeted it on Twitter, where Muddasaur, hang on a second, I'm gonna give him a shout out. Muddasaur, if you don't know them, is an amazing Australian VTuber artist. She does amazing works, and she normally does commissions during her streams and such like that. So I feel confident that I'm able to share this without any like huge repercussions when I do this. But I got myself a commission piece. It was a little bit expensive, I will be real with you, but that's just because the Australian dollar is not doing too well against the American one, and, you know, we live in the crisis of living, and I am living by myself on a job that probably should not be doing so by myself, but we're gonna ignore that as I, you know, decide to be like, hee, I'm a funny himbo zebra. I got myself a piece of artwork, and it is like thematic, because it is summertime in Australia, it's getting to Christmas time. Australians don't have snow for Christmas. They go to the beach. It's sweltering hot. The air conditioning is running right now. And I get myself... Well, bam! Hang on a second. Why is it locked? Oh, that's why. Bink. Well, bam! There we go. All right. And then, look at this. Look at this art piece. Look at this amazing thing. Ooh, Lord, indeed. It is me at a beach. I had to wear a top because the nipples would have been too much. So this is me. This is Muddasaur did an amazing job. Because I was just like, put me in a beach setting and put me in a bikini. Because it would be absolutely funny if it was just the case of I'm not allowed to, you know, be at a beach without a top on because of my nipples and my pecs and shit. So they did an amazing job. They gave me a whistle for some reason. I'm not gonna, you know, fault them for that kind of thing because they have a better idea of how to do pinups than I do. I love the glasses. I love the expression. I'm posed. It's cool. I love it. You need an no, you do not need an alternative. I'm not going back to Muddasaur with an alternative of like, hey, I have people in my chat that are like, make him hyper himbo boobies. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You can't convince Muddasaur to do that. You can't convince me. This thing is expensive. All right, I had to spend like quite a bit of money on this one, and it's a Christmas gift to myself. It is absolutely fantastic. If you love this kind of art, you're gonna love Muddasaur. She is absolutely amazing. You should go check her out. Give her a follow. Give her a sub. Give her a cheer. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, you're gonna You're gonna absolutely love it. You have a whistle because you're a lifeguard. You should not let me be a lifeguard. Just right at the get-go. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to tell you right at the get-go. You should not make me a lifeguard. Sorry, I have to like look over to the right screen to like quickly grab different thingamadoogs and make sure I'm like set up correctly, and then all right, this thingamadoogie over here is over there. Nice. Refresh it so then that way it doesn't say I'm still in advertising. The way you say this thing is expensive, I thought you meant yourself literally. No, I'm not expensive. I am fucking cheap as shit. You just need You just need to be okay with me being a fucking 300-pound nerd and get me McDonald's. And I'd probably be down for a chat, most likely. Who knows? I don't know. I don't do IRL very often. Cookie for Bookie! Here's your cookie, Bookie! There you go. How's it going? You missed out on me, like, sharing the newest piece of art that Mutasaur drew for me, because it's Christmas time in Australia, and that means going to the beaches. Sadly, you had a busy day, technically in 8 hours, so you gotta sleep. Just want to say, not to worry, Fizz Tiger. You have a good sleep. Night-night. Sleep tight. Get you macas? I can literally do that from my home with the magic of Uber. Yeah, I can do that too. But, like, here's the thing, is, like, I'm gonna have to be real. If you're in this chat right now, and the only reason you know me is because of Twitch or Twitter, I'm probably not going to talk to you in real life. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut that parasocial out real fast. The Venn diagram of, like, I met you online and I want to meet you in real life is very, very narrow. I'm sorry to say. I'm just gonna have to get that there. Dang, I'll catch it next time. You can check it out on Blue Sky or Twitter. Mutasaur drew the thing, so if you know who Mutasaur is, you're gonna figure out which of the art pieces features me, GrantZeebs. Alrighty. We got things to do. What if we're at a con and I want to hang out? I don't know. Would we be at a con together? I don't go to the US. And even if I did, it's normally because of family. I'm not going to the US for a furry convention. I don't have the money to just throw away like $1.5 grand just to get there. And also, like, that's $1.5 grand just to get there on economy, which feels absolutely terrible if you're over 60 kilograms or over 5'10". Easy. I'm on your Discord and everything, and I'm literally your neighbor, country speaking. I'm your neighbor! Country speaking. every Australian alien VTuber listening to the New Zealand, every New Zealander when they talk to the Australians, like, "Oi, mate, I'm your neighbor." How do people even transfer money to a different country? Banks. That's how they do it. Is a bank does it. All right, what am I doing? Deliver the thingamadiggy flowers to the Adakerm. What the? Oh, that's all the way back there. Fuck that nonsense. Speak with Lima. Kneel before Renar. All right. Kneel. What's your progress on the story so far? Here, right here. I don't know if this is going to be like a cutscene with dialogue, or if this is cutscene I'm going to have to talk.
Go suck a lemon.
Alright. Was there supposed to be water in his hands? Like... As Renar lightly sprays you with water, your skin begins to tingle. I am covered head to toe in leather. What the shit? He just, like, splashed water on me. It's just like, waha. And with that, you have been cleansed of the light's blind... I don't remember what he sounds like. Does anyone remember... What does he sound like? How the fuck is he supposed to sound... Like... Weren't they giving him a... like a Scottish accent or something? Hang on a second. Runar Cinematics. Who is meeting Runar? No, thank you. Meeting Runar FF14. Alright, none of that helps me because I feel like this person is about to die. I'm sorry if Sashera is French. Okay. Sorry, Sashera. In my attempt in Googling for... I see, like, a video that says as Renard says goodbye, and I'm like, oh god, no. He's gonna die. He's gonna leave us. He's gonna die for us, isn't he? Or some shit like that. And we're just gonna be traumatized. But to be fair, I'm already traumatized by like some of the nonsense that's happened in Shadowbringers. So maybe this is like one less thing that I'm at least going to be prepped for, and I'm only gonna feel like 50 to 60% about. I wanted to know what he sounded like, okay? And none of you were helping me until just now when you said French. Oh, oui, oui, monsieur. And with that, you have been cleansed of the lighted touch. How do you feel? I'm not sure, to be honest. Not refreshed exactly, but I do feel different. Has this water been treated in some way? Ho ho ho! Only blessed by our priests. They are practiced in the arcane arts. As such, it is said their prayers imbue the water with a faint, dark energies. A prickling sensation. No one has ever spoken of such a reaction before. I wouldn't say it was an unpleasant sensation, but I too feel something strange. The dark aspects of this water seem to have no discernible effect. Unless... By the gods, Master Matoya was right! You are sin eaters! What? I jest. What you feel was little more than the chill of the water. Perhaps now would be a good time for you to acquaint yourselves with the people of Slitherborough. But yeah, is it true, Sashera? Is it true? This man right here? Are they trying to replace Hutchafont with this fucking Frenchman? Are they trying to have me feel like I did with Hutchafont, the fucking bestest friend in A Realm Reborn, back when I had hope? Back when I thought they would introduce us characters all the way back then and we'd still enjoy them, instead of just being like, oh, here's another Scion of the Seventh Dawn. You'll find out when you're older. Oh, there is a phrase I use in other people's chats. You're welcome to save this message as well. I have a message that I use in other people's chats whenever they talk about a mechanic in the game, or when they're like, oh, how do you solve this puzzle? Or is this person supposed to be alive? Or am I supposed to cross this thing and such like that? This is what I hit them with. All your questions will be answered by progressing the game. If you have seen... If any of you have seen the Taskmaster, the UK show, it has this... Just imagine little Alex Horn. You know how Alex Horn says... everything is explained on the task. That monotoneness sort of thing where he's just saying everything is explained in the task or something like that. That's the kind of tone I want with the your questions will be answered by progressing the game. For that, I must teach you a customary greeting. Alintuda. In the language of Ronka, it is one of several ways one must say good evening. Bonsoir. The world is not as safe as it once was. In this greeting, let us quickly discern friend from foe. Is there a handshake or gesture we should know too? I would hate to offend anyone. Just don't hug him. You need not worry. Merely speak the words Alintuta, and they will know you are friend of the Blessed. I will await your return here. Now go. They are like to be heartened by your knowledge of our ways. You like this himbo lion man? He's just a cat. In the chat, enter Alintuta to greet the villagers of Slitherborough. Oh, cool. So they're going a little more ham into the I have to say things to people. Alrighty, hang on a sec. So Alintuta. Say. Here we go. So, the Placid Elder. The elderly woman smiles warmly. Oh, hi, Sashera. Hello, I see you. Wait, no, I'm not supposed to talk to this person. I need to talk to this person over here, wherever this person is. Probably in here. I love how Sash just, like, fucking runs out of frame. They're just like, oh, shit. Just running out of frame. It's like, no, get out of frame. Can't, where's the door? Oh, there's the door. It's this one. We had to, wait, where's the, there it is. It was the bigger door. Donk. Alin Tuta. Alin Shisi! Welcome, friend. I take it you will return in these woods for some time, yes? Be wary of these woods. You will find poison in near everything you see, but fear not, for our medicinal tea will keep you healthy. Ask it and it is yours. Oh! I don't know a lot of foreign languages, but there are a few words that I've picked up in random other languages. So, for example, in cookie for Engrel. I don't know if this is Mandarin or Cantonese. I think this is Cantonese, but if you pick up, like, I do this when I pick up my coffee and such like that, because the barista at our work, she's from Hong Kong and she speaks Cantonese instead of Mandarin, and like the way you say, like, thank you, like as in thank you for the drink, ink is umgoi. So I learned that. And then what are some other words? Oh, and then for hello, I can't remember the name of the language, but I know to speak it with this dude I know from Dubai. Assalamu alaikum. And then he says alaikum salam, I believe it is. Where it's just like, God be with you. Oh my goodness, hello. Hi everyone. Rolling Roo Raid, Rolling Roo Raid, Rolling Roo Raid, Rolling Roo Raid. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, I was just saying a different greeting. Welcome to the stream, everyone. My name is Grant. I'm a variety himbo streamer. Tonight is MMO night, which is why you see me wearing this Cactar shirt as I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV. I am a bunny boy. Right in front of me is the Angie Sashera. Look at her. Look at her, so angry. Look at her. Ah! Look at her. Just judging me right now. What is that smile? What is that grin? That is not a grin of someone that's like happy to see me. All right, fuck you. Moving, we're gonna go to someone who actually wants to say hi to me and say Alin Tuta. I don't know why. Every time I say Alin Tuta, I feel like I'm Ace Ventura going, Bumblebee Tuna? How goes? You were playing Tribal Hunter, then doing some art. You finally made a cozy. Hey, that's a nice cozy. Hang on, do it again, do it again, do it again. Do it again and like only the emote. Show me your cozy emote. It's like right there. What do you mean? What do you mean, what do I mean? You did this grinny smile, like a monkey, like staring at me and deciding to be very aggressive. Fun fact, if a monkey ever smiles at you and shows teeth, that is a sign of aggression. They're not interested in being your friend, they're interested in killing you. Do not trust a monkey that shows their teeth at you. They're being dangerous. See, there we go. There's the emotes. Nice cozy emotes. Good cozy emotes. Hang on, it's like, where's the fucking bippity boppity boo. Alrighty, ding and donk. Oh. Bumblebee Tuna? Wasn't she supposed to be in the call? Wait, what? Where? Ah, she's not in the Discord.
Hello.
Hi, Code. Welcome to the... Wait, Code, you should be streaming right now. What are you doing over here? This is Shadowbringer territory. I gotta zoom in. No, wrong zoom in. I gotta zoom in. He can't see. He can't see Shadowbringer nonsense. He just has to look straight into my face.
No Shadowbringer territory. Sorry, I had to jump in the second you said that.
It's just like, get, it's like, can't let him see.
Don't let him see all these nuts.
Don't let him see that we're over in nature. He can't know there is someplace other than Gridania with nature.
Sorry, I'm actually not looking at your stream. I just thought, I saw you were streaming, so I was like, should we try to sneak up on him? And I thought for a second, wait, hang on.
Hang on,
He's not here.
He's in Shadowbringers.
Probably in Shadowbringers, so I'm just going to annoy him. And also, I just noticed the change of your avatar. Your PNG tuber, look at it. Look at the chunk on this boy.
Oh yeah, so hang on a second. So Fugi React, you can have multiple models. So I have the Hyper Himbo. Then I can change it to default, so it should update like right away for you.
Oh, cool.
And then here's one where it's D&D for when we do D&D.
Oh, that's awesome. I really need to do that so that way I can switch out between my costumes.
Yeah, that's...
PNG tuber.
I thought I would have more than 4 slots for the model, but I only have the 4 slots. So there's the Discord avatar.
So Fugi's updated that, have they?
Yeah, so there's like 4 models you can set up. I don't know if they give you... if there's a way of adding like a 5th or any more, but they at least have the whatsamahoozy.
Oh yeah, so you can plus your models. Okay.
Wait, can you plus your models?
So yeah, there's a plus thing here at the at models where it says plus.
Oh, I don't have that. I think 4 is the limit. So so I can change this default. Give me a second.
Hang on, let me have a look. No chosen file. Let me go to.
Wolves are showing.
Oh,
Bumblebee tuna.
PNG tuber, PNGs. I know which one I'm gonna use.
You're gonna know which one you want to use.
I know which one I'm gonna use.
All right, I've changed my default, so now it's like more in line with the AR kit when I did, because I want to do like different shirts and such. So.
Okay, hopefully that works. Oh, why are you not letting me? Oh, hang on. Now you're gonna let me save? Yeah, you're gonna let me save. And now, hang on, let me just look over at your stream there.
Oh, I just missed. Hang on. Nice! Congratulations on your 1-year affiliate anniversary by Descus.
Fugi, right? I just gotta click it on the Fugi.
Yeah, you just need to click it in the Fugi.
Boop. So now it should pop up with the other one. Why didn't it pop up?
No, hang on.
Also, hang on.
Oh, it might be user choice. Hang on a second. Customize. You can set images. Why is it? Hang on. So I can do. Hang on. So group.
We're trying to fix some stuff here, guys. Sorry. Spur of the moment.
Discord avatars. Default. Individual for code. Default overrides. Revert. Save.
I think because I've got all mine as individuals, though.
There we go. Now it shows you. I had to like remove the override because you have a default override, and then so for some reason like you have all these.
And I'll try not to. What is this invisible pixie-looking thing that is sneaking up behind me? I wonder what this could be.
Everyone was so kind and gracious. I was nervous at first, but already I'm starting to feel at home. There is still much I have to learn.
Hello, Sashera. Oh, I'm just gonna mute you while you're doing that too.
No.
I'm just gonna deafen.
Yep, fair enough. There is still much I have to learn about the Knights Blessed, but their faith and strength of will is nothing short of inspiring. I can see now how they've built such a thriving community. There we go, there's our first thingy-majiggy done. I'm gonna give a shout out to Ko the Yoshi while I'm at it, so then that way I can get like a hyperlink, he's way himboer than that. What? Dekus? You can at one point. Alright, hang on a sec. I need to open this thingamajiggy and see what it looks like. Ah, I see. There's like multiple people just standing around. Boobies! And all that. Silly. Alrighty then. Runar! Judging by the glint in Runar's eyes, there's more for you to learn about Slitherbow. I heard my name? Yes. No, Furry Cure is like, you're way himboer than 37%, but I think that's fine. I'm just being funky. Alright. Ah, you have returned. Very good. No doubts they were glad of your company. It's been too long since we've had visitors. Remember, if you have any questions and there is anything you need, do not hesitate to ask. Well, tomorrow you reveal your himbo side. Ooh, is this to go along with your affiliate anniversary this weekend? Speaking of which, we must arrange food and lodging for your stay. As friends of Master Matoya, we cannot ask for payment, but if you would be willing to lend a hand, it would be my pleasure. New PNGs. Nice. We are fortunate indeed to play host to such great, generous souls. The task I have in mind is simple enough. Let me in. Sashara demands to be let in. Hello.
Oh.
Look at him. Look at this. Look at this silly. Look at this silly fox. I don't like it, Charlie. Their smug face, their smug aura mocks me. Look at this. Look at. I do love your wiggly. It's such a silly emote. This like
That's why I love the wiggly. Look, I can't take full credit for it. The original was like a Pokemon emote that someone did. So I kind of took the template for that and just did my own character over the top.
Fair. Okay.
It's still cute.
I do think I know of the I don't know the Pokemon's name, but I can visualize it.
The blue one popped there, yeah?
Yeah, the blue clown seal looking one. Yeah. What do you think of my French accent? Of course. One of us can do the filing and the other the watering. I feel like one of those Britishmen from Hello with the very terrible accent.
I was gonna say, you kind of been doing that every time.
Just to further emphasize the French accent from Runar.
Yes, I'm French.
Yeah. Yes, I know how to speak French. Speak with Isabelle when you're finished. She will be relieved to hear the crops have been tended to. Have you seen Hello?
I feel like I have, but it would have been like a long.
It was probably something like because they advertised Hogan's Heroes in Hello, where like it was in that Channel 7 thingamadiggy where it's like order now and you can get at the second VHS for season 2 of Hello for free. Payback credit card, and you will also get a copy of
the channel shopping stuff.
Yeah, but it's it's honestly such a silly show. You have a French restaurant owner or something like that deep in Paris during the Nazi occupation, and he has a wife, and he's having an affair with 2 waitresses in a cafe, not restaurant, in a cafe, while his wife, who can't sing for shit, but she always wants to sing at the end of the night at the cafe, and he gets approached by the French resistance, this woman that's like, we're going to use you to help get rid of these 2 British pilots and bring them back to England. And the two British fighters, they don't speak English, but because this is a British TV show, the way they denote the French and the Germans is the French people have a French accent and the Germans have a German accent, who sometimes have French accents. But the British fighters of air pilots, they pretend to be onion sellers. So they just have. So when they first meet them, they just eat.
Oh my
It's so great, and it's like they can't. And when you first see them, you just have these two British pilots going, "Hello," and they're just like, "What are they saying? I don't know. I don't speak English."
This is a British comedy, right?
This is
like a British.
This is a British comedy.
90s British comedy is fucking wild.
Is it 90s? 1982.
Oh, 82, even better.
So yeah, oh, it's so great. And then they finally get another British man in the second season or something, who came in like via hot air balloon or something like that. And he's like, he's like, "Nice to meet you, chaps. I know a little bit of French." And it's the worst French accent. It's like, "Hello, everybody. I am in Duskois." And it's so great.
It's like, oh my god. Like, "Are you being served?" is another good one.
Oh, it's so great. And it's just so great. And like when he comes into the cafe, he's like, "Good morning." So great.
Oh yeah, if you weren't ready for Mrs. Brown's Boys, like if you weren't ready, you just die.
Oh.
That's the beauty of British comedy. Like, you do not expect half the shit. You sit there and you go, "Oh dear god, this is hilarious."
Yeah. Oh,
What?
It's so good. But yeah, if you want like an old, like, and I'm pretty sure there's only, hang on a second. Like, let me look up, there's only 85 episodes, so you could blitz through this nonsense. It's fantastic. A guy so Renee and his wife Edith. It's just.
Oh, you're not Ron Dukas.
It got so it. Decus, I think.
Decus. I'm bad.
So yeah, it went from 19. So the pilot was 1982. Season 1 was 1984, and it went on until 1989 for season 6. Then there was like a year-long break. Then they did season 7, 8, 9, finishing in 1992. And then for some reason, there was an episode of 2007 where it was a special one-off where what? Sorry, I'm just like reading through the wiki. That's not important. Point is, like, the internet is available. The high seas are out there. Watch LOLO. It is. You just hang on a second. I'll mention it in chat. So, hello. That's how it is. It's like it looks like hello, but they just changed the HE to ah. So yeah, but that's the origins for why can't Grant do a good French accent? Because it's.
Go suck a lemon.
You go suck a lemon, furry cures. While we take care of that, I will see to your room and a warm meal. Okay, I feel like that was worse. I need to tone it in. Right then, I'll fill you water. Wait, no, she doesn't have a French accent. Fuck. I'm ruining the VA immersion. All right. This was the only jug I could find which was small enough to lift, but I'm afraid there's a crack in the bottom. You'll need to hurry to the garden before all the water leaks out. Take the jug of water to the square before the contents leak out. You will have 45 seconds to complete the task. Should you fail, return to Minfilia and try again. And I can't sprint.
My DMs asking me if I drink Misto.
The hell is Misto? Never heard of such a thing.
I've never heard of it either, and they're like, "You're being cringe, it's coffee." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's fucking coffee?"
Oh, Merlot are they talking about? I don't know.
Alcohol?
They need to give you an image of what is of like the thing in the jar or the container or the box or whatever it comes in. Like they could be talking about a Nescafe for all they talk about.
Like it's half coffee, half milk or something like that. It's a French word.
Oh. That just sounds extra pompous for can I have a coffee with cream, please?
Like I don't why mist
And they just sent this to you in DM.
Yeah, they just DM'd me, "Does Sasha drink Misto?" And they're like, "Is a coffee, you are being cringe right now." And I'm like,
Misto.
What what do you mean? And I'm like, where does the word misto come from? They're like, I think it's French. And I'm like...
Is it just spelled M-I-S-T-O?
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna get it, put it in... When I put it in the translator, it immediately was like, oh, this is a Czech word.
What? What?
They thought it was a Czech word, but let me put it in French. Misto, or translated from Italian, means mixed.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hi there, Velk. The superior hot drink is hot chocolate. Why waste with an inferior coffee? Sometimes you need the coffee beans, okay? This is why my personal favorite drink is a maca, but I can't have a maca every morning. That's a bit too much, okay? So, because we have a barista at my work, I know this is going to be very first worldsy, especially as I'm working in a corporate environment, but we have a barista at work, so I don't have to pay for my coffee in the morning. And I was able to experiment with some options, and right now I am on what's called a dirty iced chai, where it's basically you got the dirty part is the coffee, like espresso shot in, so you get milk, cinnamon tea, and an espresso shot. And because it's ice, because who the fuck is gonna drink a hot beverage in Australia in the morning? Do you drink a hot beverage in the morning?
No, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. How Australia hasn't, like, just decided to fucking terraform everything, I do not understand.
We need more, like, honestly, like, the entire center of the continent should be Sullivan. Not actually, because that's destroying wildlife areas, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, and that is an initiative, actually. They are, or maybe that was satellites. They wanted to do something in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Well met, travelers. I observed your earlier speaking with the others. Have you need of something?
I love this. I've now confused the Fae. They're like, don't give me confusion on words. They're my uses. I'm sorry, I don't think about the Roman Empire like normie males.
Oh. Who the fuck thinks about the Roman Empire when you can think about the Roman Republic? Alright, we're not interested in some fucking nepotism nonsense. Give us the my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy! This is what happens when you're in a conversation with me, chat, is it will be a mixture of, like, insightful things about, like, oh, like, some of the languages that I've tried to keep remembering, and the most I can remember is Umgoy and Assalamu alaikum. Meanwhile, on the other half is, let me just quote to you movies and TV shows, because that's half my personality, and somehow that works.
ADHD do be like.
I don't choose. I make myself a maca was Benru's thing. Drink water. Become cow. Cows drink milk as well, I'm pretty sure.
When they're babies.
What, they just stop?
Yeah, we technically you're supposed to wean off the milk when you get older. It's just human beings are fucking weird.
What? This is news to me.
What? The way the mammal system is designed is you have milk when you're a baby because it has all the additional nutrients and shit in it that you need. And then we just kind of steal milk from cows because for some reason we like it still, and so cows drink water.
But I swear they still drank milk, like even when they grew up.
Anyone work on a farm in the chat? Because I'm pretty sure it's just water.
Any farmers in the chat? It's like 6 p.m. in Australia, so maybe there's some farmers that aren't working right now. Meanwhile, in the US, there's probably farmers that are just waking up right now and watching this and just being like, man, this zebra's fucking dumb.
I mean,
drinking their...
What are you doing?
We're arguing about whether or not cows drink milk or water.
Okay, I'm deafening you guys again. Bye.
Bye.
just that fucking sentence. It's like, what?
You missed out on so much.
I mean, they would drink water when they're younger, when they're older, sure, but they would drink milk when they're younger.
Yes.
Oh, Benru may not be a farmer, but apparently they volunteered at the SPCA. I don't know what that acronym means, but it sounds important. Which included a barnyard. All the livestock drank water, and they ate oats, animal feed, and molasses. The fuck is molasses?
That shit is tasty.
What do you mean, what is molasses?
Like, I've heard the phrase, like, it's like you're walking through molasses.
Grant.
But what the fuck is molasses?
Grant, have you ever been to the country ever?
One time in England, but that was a long time ago, and I got stuck in the hay because we were like, me and my sister were climbing up the hay bales and shit back when they did, and for some reason it was like squares and such. I know they come in like circles now, but where I was in England, they were still like square bales and shit, and I got stuck.
So Grant, you say your sister and you were rolling around in the hay?
No, I'm gonna.
Okay. Just fucking banned. Speaking of, one of my chatters is actually having a hard time seeing your stream. Nyago135. Apparently he's having a hard time seeing your stream.
I can't see the content, nor can I hit follow. I can see chat though.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's really... What browser are they using, I wonder?
Yeah, what browser are you using, Nago?
Because I know for a while, like... Because I have, Opera. Yeah.
Chrome.
For a while there... That's even weird.
You're not using any ad blocks or anything like this, or anything?
Well, they're figuring that. I'm gonna... You watered the crops? Oh, my apologies for not noticing sooner. I have been rather distracted of late. Watering the crops is always Todia's duty, but she is no longer with us. We have since taken to sharing the duties, though never with guests. You are most kind. Is there anything we can do to help? We could plant something if you like. There is no need. The plot is small, it is true, but provide us with enough to survive. We ask for no more.
Proper one of those.
I think your little fennec fox-looking thing is cute.
Thank you, Trooper. Also, 14 minutes ago, I saw Nagaho 135 did a follow, but for some reason there wasn't like a notification. But thank you, Trooper, as well for the follow. Don't know how you manage.
I do use ad block, but it doesn't. Okay. No, I'm not sure. Yeah, you've got turbo. Okay, I'm not sure why you're having that issue then.
Yeah.
Anyway, while Grant's reading his thing, I'm going to mute myself over here and deafen for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that way we're not sort of interrupting Grant's thing there.
Fair enough. Actually, I'll just mute my thingamajiggy. Have the Blessed not considered leaving? Life would surely be easier almost anywhere else. I can understand why you may say that, but the easiest path is not always the right one. Tell me, do you know our history? How our faith came to be? Yes, I believe so. The Knights Blessed was initially formed by those who lost their homes in the wake of the flood. Thank you so much for clipping Dekus. However, I might not approve. There is no guarantees I will approve I'll approve every clip, but I will appreciate every clip. Oh, Jesus Christ, what's up with my body? Move. There we go. Thank you for clipping. Check to see if I'm banned by you, as I can't see your content and I also can't hear you. Bah! How about refreshing? Because you seem to be... You don't look in danger. Hang on a second. Twitch moderator. Moderate my own channel. Fix your tits. Yeah, auto mod queue, suspicious. You're not in the restricted from the looks of it. You're not in the monitoring. If you know the line I refed with the title, you love comedy films. Why would you like a roll in the hay? It's fun. What's the one with the... I'll figure it out later on. I got some dialogue to read. The Knights Blessed was initially formed by those who lost their homes in the wake of the flood. What began as an occasional gathering of survivors eventually grew into a community which ultimately decided to strike out on its own in the Raktika Great Woods. I see you have read your history, but there is a history that is told and one that is lived. Like so many in those times, the first of the Knights Blessed lost everything, their homes, their loved ones, all they hold dear. To make matters worse, none could say what became of the souls of those lost to the flood when their bodies were reborn as sin eaters. The people were without answers, without hope. Their gods have drowned along with everything else. It seemed nothing was beyond the reach of the light. But soon they realized that where there is light, there must be darkness. And in truth, they found a new faith, a faith that the souls of the departed could yet find peace beyond these burning skies, in the sunless sea above. That is why we pray, for the safe passage of wayward souls onto that blessed black abyss, for the return of the night, that we might someday look upon the kingdom of heaven with our own eyes. We remain in these woods for the selfsame reason our founders first chose them, that we may live lives of simplicity with the shade of these trees as a constant reminder of our faith. With so many seeking paradise in Ulamore, it's refreshing to find people who value a humbler existence. You are kind to say so. Many consider our way of life foolish, and so it must seem to those who yet cling to their worldly possessions. In times such as these, when everything can be taken away in an instant, it is all too easy to lose sight of why we fight to go on living. It is not to hold fast to material things, but to hold those who went before us in our hearts, to keep alive the legacy they have left us. This we must do for them, our children and generations yet unborn. To keep their legacy alive. Chat having Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks. Is that the one with the, what's the one? I think it's also done by Mel Brooks, where you have, like, the American helping, like, helping in, like, World War II to rescue, like, a scientist or something like that, and they get, like, members of the French, like, resistance or something. I don't know. Alright, I'm back.
I was so lonely. Why did you leave?
It was so lonely. I could have said things. I was just going through the dialogue. All right, let's see.
Right, but Code also deafened, so I'm like, eh.
Done tending to the crops already? Very good. It should not be long before your room is ready. Runar!
Hello.
Hello. Trouble on the horizon. In the woods. Sin eaters! I fear they may have the touch. Where? In the grove to the southwest. For a mercy, they've yet to wander any closer to Slitherborough. Then we need to engage in we have no need to engage. Inform the guard that no one is to set foot outside the village until they are moved on. But sir, what of Todia's Heartstone? It must be retrieved before the service. Of all the times for Sin Eaters to appear. Are you just going to leave them alone? Under normal circumstances, we would not hesitate in striking the beast down, but if they indeed have the touch, I would not risk them corrupting one of our own. What was it that you said about a stone? A few days passed. Todia, a child of the Knights Blessed, was slain by the Sin Eaters. We succeeded in retrieving her body, but in our haste, we failed to notice her necklace was gone. Strung to it was a pendant of jade, her Heartstone. All of the Knights Blessed are given such a stone at birth. It is the most valuable possession one can own. It is custom to present the Heartstone of the deceased at their funeral, as an offering to the heavens. But now... Watch as she's gonna force us to help them. What if force? What if I could find it for you? Oh, she's not saying oh we. She's saying I.
She's a very independent young lady. Okay.
Okay, I'll accept. My fault. I was just really used to the fucking scions just sort of being like, we can do it. Hey, Grant.
Hey, Grant.
You were describing the plot of Schindler's List. That's not not even. No. There is a comedy, and it's like based around like World War II kind of thing, because you have like this big black Frenchman, like they're having a shootout or something like that in an old warehouse, and everyone's like they break a window to shoot out of. So like the first person like breaks a window to shoot with a pistol, the other person breaks a window to shoot with a submachine gun, and then this guy like brings out a fucking cannon, breaks the window, and while holding onto it fires. And that's where you get the gif as well, where the guy's like crawling through the fence, stops, sees a pair of boots, looks up, and then because of the camera pan, shows that there's no one in the boots. There's just a random pair of boots in the what's-a-mahoozy, in the field. I swear.
Because why not?
Yeah. Hogan. No, it's not Hogan's Heroes. It's a film. It's not a TV show. I'm trying to remember. Like. I'll figure it out. I have experience fighting Sin Eaters, and the light's corruption does not touch me like it does others. Master Matoya called you a Minfilia, did she not? Are you truly the Minfilia, descended from the Oracle? Even so, I dare not ask you to risk your life for the Blessed. I understand how you feel, but I can't stand by knowing that your people are in need and I can help. Please, let me do this! Very well, but if the danger proves too great, you must retreat. I could never forgive myself if we were forced to hold a second service. Operation Snap? Mel Brooks World War II film. Give me a second, I'm pretty sure.
That this is why Grant hasn't progressed past Shadowbringers in 2 years.
No, I've only just started Shadowbringers, okay? I've only just started Shadowbringers. This is this year. We're doing Shadowbringers this year.
You kind of don't have a lot of this year left, Grant.
Fair enough. We'll see how we do. God fucking damn it. Escape to his feet. I'm just gonna type in catch up from it too. No. What the fuck is the film? God damn it. This is gonna annoy me for a while. I nearly forgot about Thancred. What if he returns before I do? Don't worry, I'll come with you. was the director of the... Okay, so Jim Abrams was the director. Okay, maybe Jim Abrams. Top Secret from 1984 because it had Val Kilmer in it. And there's a scene. Oh my god, this is now opening up things. Okay, so it opens up with you in California with Nick Rivers and a gang of like surfers, and they're surfing at the beach and skeet shooting at the same time. So you just see this American surfing, like they get up and surf, and then they whip out a shotgun and just go bang. It's so silly. I knew I remembered this. I knew this was a movie. I know it sounds dumb, but it exists. With you at my side, I'm certain we can deal with them in no time at all. Go swiftly, and may the shadow keep you both. Oh yeah, you are absolutely correct. This is why it takes me fucking forever to go through MMOs, because I don't want to go through any nonsense like off stream or anything like that that's like MSQ related. Even though like I could probably do patch content. What's this guy's thing? All right, I'll hold on to your thingamajiggy in case I have to like, you know, do something from outside this place. There we go. All right. So yeah, this is technically quest number 2, I want to say. We're doing fine with the pacing, okay? Don't you worry. So yeah. Oh yeah, this is where the music was. The lahi. Has someone done a mod where they've swapped the music out in areas?
Hello, YouTube. What are you up to?
Doing all right.
Yes.
So, I finally remembered the name of a film that's like a joke about World War II or something like that, called Top Secret.
Hot Shots?
No.
Oh no, Top Secret. That was the next one.
Same director, different time period. Because Hot Shots is the Gulf War, or with Charlie Sheen. This is with Val Kilmer, with the Californians and
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, where the like hang on a second.
I think that was actually one of Val Kilmer's first roles, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of his first ever major roles.
It was probably one of his first one. Here it is. Nick Rivers, an American rock star, and like one of the popular songs is Skeet Surfin'.
Wait, what was it called?
Skeet Surfin'. Did you not?
Skeet Surfin'.
Have you not seen the movie?
I have. I just couldn't remember it.
It's in the opening thing. Hang on a second. I'm gonna need to get this song.
Heck yeah, you'd have to play it for me or something, because I have forgotten it.
Here it is. Here it is.
Hang on, let me pull it up and see if we can find it.
I just shared it in the Zebra streaming. I just love it's a very just imagine the Beach Boys with conservative values. It's just like skeet surfing. If everyone had a 12 gauge.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So good.
Oh, I love the movie. That was actually I had that on VHS.
It's such a funny movie.
God, that's showing my age again. Every time I say VHS,
I had VHSs as well.
Yelling. I'm waiting for everyone in chat to start yelling how old I am. Don't you do it, chat. God damn it, Grant!
Hi there, Wild Saber.
It doesn't work when you're also old.
He's older than me. It counts.
I'm 32. You're like 26.
I'm 30, but thank you.
Wait, that means Grant's a dad zone. Grant is dad zone.
I'm in Gray Fur's territory now, because apparently the furry community has just been like, oh yeah, we totally have people still in the furry community from the time in the 70s. Gray furs. Anyone over the age of 30 is a gray fur in the furry community, because apparently 30-plus-year-olds in the furry community don't exist.
Okay, everyone. We now have to call Grant Dad now.
I will delete messages. I will time out people if you come into my chat after this advertisement.
Hey, I didn't say they had to do it in your chat now, did I? You can't stop them from doing it in my chat.
I mean, you kind of can.
Be worse, call him.
Oh, right, he's a moderator. Shit.
right at the get-go, Renee, Zach.
Grant said.
Just fucking deleting messages right now. All right, we're out of advertisement in like 5 seconds.
Oh, quick, everyone spam Daddy Grant. Daddy Grant.
Oh my god. Oh wait, did I accidentally delete? Oh, you made me do. You made me do. Oh, you.
Daddy.
Just fucking. Pew 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 pew. Why are all my messages? Okay, yours was that was a friendly fire accident, Ernea Zach. I'm sorry about your one got because Sashera like did something and then you typed immediately afterwards, and my deletion that was meant for Sashera, you walked in the line of fire.
How does it feel, Grant, having your chat call you Daddy? Now you know how I feel. Now you feel my pain.
There, Sin-Eaters.
Spoilers.
All right, I'll move out of the way for a little bit.
Oh my god, it's the angels. I was hoping there would only be one. There's no way we can search for the stone without dealing with them first. Perhaps we should split up then. Good idea. I'll draw one away while you handle the other. Despite the fact I'm probably gonna handle both. What the... Chalajeds? What the hell is... I don't understand Wild Saber's thingamadoog. Aged challenge. Ah, okay. Alright, here we go. Observe, and as I, like, forget to press some buttons. I like just clicking on the toolbar to do the thingies. I know some people do like exclusively keyboard and they're just like bibbidi-bobbidi-boo kind of nonsense, but only like exclusively 1, 2, 3, 4 is like probably the furthest I'll go. And then I just click. Are you a clicker or are you a typer?
I'm a clicker.
Mm.
A combo off, basically.
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, I'm not stretching my hands all the way over to the 9K. It's not happening.
Just like pushing that thumb there.
I already have RSI. I don't need anything else.
What's RSI? Ah, okay. So carpal tunnel is like an RSI thing, or is that separate to?
I mean, you get it from doing an action over and over.
Okay. I'm trying to beat a beetle.
I just ended up with ganglion in my wrist in the lab, so... Yeah, nah, fuck that.
I don't know why, but when you're like, oh yeah, I got RSI after working in a lab, I'm imagining...
Am I out of spoiler territory? Am I okay to come back in?
Technically, yeah. I'm just imagining you like being like Muppet arms or something like that in the lab for some reason.
What?
I don't... Just my brain coming up with silly visuals right now.
I think your brain has gone silly visuals.
I'm fine, okay? I'm fine. Alright, where's Minfilia? There she is.
Oh, I've got a hunt target here in front of me.
Nice!
Oh no.
It's a one of the little fish guys.
Do better next time. Oh, the level 70 thingamadiggies. Those are... How many people do you need to take on targets like those normally?
No idea.
Search over in the bush. Alright, we're still looking for... We're
Go,
still
your
looking for
Grant isn't any
jewelry.
better. Well, yes, I know. Also, Onyx called Grant Daddy Grant here in my chat.
Hang on, why
Oh,
can't
it's a
I...
Namazu.
Oh, I can ban or unban. I can't just delete shit. Why can't I delete... Like, hang on, that's gotta... Hang on. Ding.
Wait, I thought you could, because Jason's always been able to delete messages.
It's just because of
it's
the...
a mod versus mod thing.
It's just a view thing for me. So,
Ah.
it's
No,
probably...
it's probably because Onyx is also a mod.
Ah.
Oh, yes, there's that too.
Alright.
Aha, beaten by mods.
You're on equal ground, therefore you either have the advantage or disadvantage.
Took two. Where the fuck is...
What is this man up to?
Took...
So we're just dealing with the return of Tetsuyu.
Ah, yep.
Oh, and you're about to jump into some spoiler territory, so I'll move over here.
I'm checking out a pile of leaves. Brush away leaves, uncoloring a brilliant green gem. Nice. Alright, I am going to get the motorcycle. So... Did I ever mention I had a lab coat despite not needing one?
Would you like do
I've got nuts in my mouth now.
I didn't do lab. I was working at I was doing a Bachelor of IT, but I got a lab coat because in the uni dorm I was in, they did it's called barefoot bowls, but you're not barefoot. You go in costume. And the first year I was at this dorm, the theme was okay. Here's your cookie, Wild Saber. I'm gonna go with my story. The first theme was heroes and villains. So what I did is I got, because I already had like steampunk goggles from a comic convention. So I went and got rubber, like some red electric gardening gloves or something, like thick gardening gloves, and a lab coat so I could be an evil scientist. I got, yes, and whenever we went out, and then we went out like to drinks or something like that at a bar, and I was able to get myself a free drink for some reason because of the costume. You just see me with a fucking beer can holding in red gloves. Stink, donk, hand that. That way we get the blue tick out of the way. So yeah. Why do you have to look away to drink your potion? What kind of like pleasantry is that? Thank you. I should be fine after a bit of rest. Cool. Nice. Also, what is with everyone? What is with this attire? I just, it's like it's the same attire as Orange back with the fairies and such. Also, am I? Oh, there.
We live in the woods, Grant.
Yeah, but why the long skirt? You're going to track dirt and shit. Like, Minfilia is
They
fine.
live in the woods.
Oh, they live in the pants or shorts. Steve Irwin it. You didn't see Steve Irwin wearing long
Who
pants,
Steve Irwin is?
but chat knows. Japan knows. I'm pretty sure if you ask a Japanese person who Steve Irwin is, they would know. Look. Sash is just listening to me. It's just like, you're fucking insane. Calm down.
I didn't say nothing.
You didn't say nothing. But yeah. Oh,
Playing funny bean game.
funny bean game. I remember something. Thing is, many times begin not important dialogue. I remember a pet peeve I have with Australia. You know how people complain about America for all kinds of shit? Myths and such like that. I have something to pick with Australia that's that is about as petty as Australians picking with Americans. Your currency is whack. You can't tell me any of the people on any of your like nominated notes. There's birds on the New Zealand one that people will remember and shit. But if I showed you a $10 note and I flipped either side and I asked you who's on it, you couldn't tell me. Not on the $100, not on the $50.
Why would I want to tell you?
Because it's just it's in your history. You go to an American and they can tell you which one is which one is the Benjamin Franklins, the Jacksons, the Lincoln and the George Washington. Like, oh, and the Alexander Hamilton. That's also on a dollar note. That's why, and also why $100 bills are called Benjamins. Like, Australia doesn't have that. You have...
Okay, but you know what? I'd rather the pretty colors and the people I don't give a fuck about over the I put my $100 note in the washing machine and now it's disintegrated. Oopsie.
It hasn't washed for me. It's a cotton thing. Yours is plastic. We can iron.
It's supposed to be durable.
Yeah, but like if I thought I could flatten my I thought like the American bills I could flatten it by running an iron over it. That was a mistake. I ruined a $5 note. Thank goodness for my mom being smarter than me. She wouldn't let me do it with like a 10 or a 20. I ruined like it bubbled and shrunk so quickly.
Why?
Because it was crumply and wrinkly, and I wanted a nice. Don't give me the shit of like, oh, it's just a $5 note. When will you ever deal with cash in your fingers? All the time.
Except now you never do.
Except now, that's fair. But we've elevated ourselves to having whatever color our card and our thing is for payments and what have you. It's glorious. Oh wait, I can be on my motorcycle. So Canadians can go swimming with their cash and will not lose any ink or color. Just saying. You get too spicy for your buddy.
Go suck a lemon.
You go suck a lemon, furry cures. I'm just saying, like, if you, because of the argument of like, oh, putting King Charles's face on your currency and what have you, this is the perfect opportunity to either A, educate your students a little bit more so they know the people who are going on your notes, or B, change the notes to things people recognize. Like, what happened to the campaign to putting Steve Irwin on the $100 note? It'd be amazing. People would be holding more $100 notes for Steve Irwin. And you could have, like, shorthand for $100 where it's like, hey, pass me a Stevie. Or did Steve Irwin have a nickname?
Steve-O probably, if anything.
Steve-O. Actually, yeah. Pass me a Steve-O. That works. Thank goodness you're safe. I had begun to worry to fear the worst. Funnily enough, Alexander was going to be removed from the $10 bill, but then the musical made the picture of him popular again. Weird. You know what's weird? There's $2 notes. There are $2 American notes that are still, like, acceptable currency.
Why?
Because back in the day, they thought they would be using $2 notes quite a bit. They didn't want to use coins. It's one of those weird cases where because of the cost of the materials, it's cheaper to make notes than coins. And this is like after they changed like the copper from like the penny, as much as they got rid of as much of the copper from the penny as they could to still make it thingamadoog. Suck your lemon, don't you? Can you bonk Urane for horny? No. The horny is for my moderators. But oh, that is duck. You found it. We can proceed with our service as planned. These blessed gems serve not only to protect us in life, but to guide our souls in the dead. Even should we be felled by the sin eaters, so long
Now
as
that
these gems
is what
are
we call
recovered,
a skill issue.
our souls are ensured peace in the dark. Thank you. Hey, I got myself gloves for this. Words fail to express my gratitude for this kindness you have done for the blessed. I must insist you and your friends attend Todia's service as honored guests. There is still much we must do to prepare, but please go and inform the others it will be held in the darker.
Paid me to say okay, that's it. I'm gonna spit in your mouth.
When you arrive, there should be an attendant present to explain the proceedings. Some now are changing their prices, so we only accept quarters and no other change. Oof. Oof. Damn. I think America is still crazy. Like 50% of transactions in America is still cash and currency. It's not done via electronic or any of that, like, majoritively yet.
That's probably why they had rampant COVID 3 years ago.
They had rampant COVID because it got politicized. That's the short of it. Australia and New Zealand were very fortunate where no one fucking lived here, and the few times people got sick, everyone was still far enough away that it wasn't much of a problem.
Yeah, true. So people started sneaking into the back of semi-trucks trying to change the border.
Grant and I learned so much about the Knights Blessed while you were away, and we helped them recover a lost heirloom in the woods. I know I wasn't supposed to leave, but they really needed our help. There were sin eaters, and as long as he accompanied you. But do try to be more careful. Your injuries could have been a lot worse. How did you? Let's just say a little bird told me, and it's telling me now that Grant has business with us. Is something the matter?
What?
My country has people telling us COVID was a liberal hoax and I wanted to move away. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's it. Like, Sash, I don't think you understand, like, just how much COVID was turned into, like, a political piece of, like, oh, it's not that infectious, or the severity of the conditions pale in comparison, because it was about infringing on people's freedom of, like, movement and transaction and yada yada yada.
Oh, I believe it.
So yeah, and it didn't help that the fucking president was, let's be real, probably not the best one for, like, you know, telling people what to do, because
the orangutan.
The fucking orange, yeah, because it's a case of, like, if he told people to, like, you know, be sensible or some shit, most people didn't take him seriously. But if he told people to fucking riot, he would.
Yeah.
Of course we'll go. It's being held in the darker, is it? We'll take care not to be late. I promise. In New Zealand, a megachurch leader tried protesting with 100 of his followers during lockdown, got arrested. It was the best thing that ever happened during lockdown. Yep. So yeah, and then in the US, like, there's just a hypocrisy. Like, there was, like, a mega church or some shit like that, some capable of hosting, like, thousands of people in this church, and they denied entry as, like, a shelter during a hurricane season or something like that, opting that it was, like, ill-advised for people to be here, and it was just sort of like, or that it was too expensive, and it was just, ugh.
Yikes.
US is just filled with yikes when it becomes a case of, like, any argument between us and them. Alright, do not slander orangutans like that. He was orange, that's it.
You're right, orangutans are much smarter than that.
There was one that was very funny, where this is a real orangutan, by the by, not someone being an orangutan. I can't remember her name, but basically she had a pet dog, and she broke the sink out of anger. And when her when her handler asked her in sign language, "Oh, how did this happen?" the orangutan said, "It's the dog's fault." It was fantastic. Just it was one of the earlier times that they think it was just like we're pretty. She definitely did it, but it's amazing she tried to tell us the dog was responsible. It's fantastic. So yeah. Oh, that wasn't the only thing, Dekus. It wasn't just bleach. It was horse dewormer. There was like all kinds of stuff they were recommending. And then they didn't want people to take the vaccine because it used RNA technology in order to help, do the whole like normal action of the vaccine, which is the whole, you get this like banal infection with none of the seriousness. So then that way your blood cells know how to combat it. So then when the actual infection comes in, they already got the blueprints on how it's supposed to look, how it functions, and how to counter it.
That we show our faces. May we join you?
Grant.
Yep.
Discord stream?
Sorry?
Discord stream?
Yep, hang on a second. Ding. Stream. 30 frames a second should be enough.
Let us begin.
Oh, my accent isn't that far off from him.
That's why I said French.
You are right. Let us begin. I like that the candles are blue.
I thank you all for coming to pay respects to our fallen daughter of the night. In the light, she was known as Todia, but in the dark, we shall remember her always as Menine. Let us each take a moment to offer her our prayers. We entrust her now to the night's sweet embrace. In darkness will she be free from pain and suffering, now and forevermore. May her soul find peace in the sunless sea of heaven, and in the love we bear for her in our hearts.
That vessel represents the night sky, the sunless sea of heaven.
Oh, that kind of looks like the giant crystal thing.
It does. Low-key, this is probably one of my favorite representations of a ceremony ever done in a video game.
We call upon you now, O bringer of shadow, to lead this gentle soul unto the sea. We call upon you, O warrior of darkness, to deliver her unto paradise everlasting.
It's rather nice. Like, respectable nice, I should say. Not like, oh, it's a...
I am told you assisted in the preparations for the service. On
From
behalf
a
of the
service
blessed, you
perspective
have
and
my
a
sincerest
ceremonial
thanks.
perspective, I think that's really, really well done, and it's really pretty.
The enduring legend of the Warrior of Darkness owes much to the traditions of
Because
these people.
it's not trying to be flamboyant, and it's not trying
And
to
none were more
be
ardent in
extra
their
in
faith
like
than
a passage or anything like that. It is
She would have
very
been greatly moved by your presence.
yeah.
It's very respectful, and it's very reflective of the ideals of the culture that they're trying to describe in the game, which I think is really, really well done.
Yeah.
Take guess.
Why do I feel like I'm about to drink Kool-Aid here? Fun fact, it wasn't actually Kool-Aid, it was an off-brand Kool-Aid, but Kool-Aid will never lose that.
But if you could deliver the night sky to her people, the
Outside.
real
Why do I
night
think terrible
sky,
about
it would be
start
the
moving
next best
Kool-Aid?
thing.
Never mind, it's a surface.
Never mind. I remember saying this in Baldur's Gate 3. Man, cults in fantasy are a lot more dangerous because their gods are real. Like, think about the number of religions that exist now, and we're just sort of like, a lot of them are like, oh, this one's organized, or this one's hokey. Imagine how many of them we'd be thinking differently when there's like demonstration of cleric action.
When shit actually fucking goes down and people die, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
Tom Cruise imposes like a cleric pose for Scientology, and like guardians surround him or something. I think we would start believing in Scientology. Would just be like, oh shit.
We will bring back the dark.
Oh.
Mayhaps sooner than later, in fact.
Damn, I just came up with a good idea.
Urianger and I finished deciphering
Oh my
the
god, I
tablet,
can kick your
and its
god's butt.
contents were most
That's
illuminating.
Dickus, let's be real. That's probably Christians versus Catholics higher up in the thing. The Pope just looks across the ocean at King Charles and is just like,
It's like Pokemon.
Mine's better.
Religion.
Yep. I just goddamn. Okay,
I should stop.
It's okay. I had an idea that was literally
Not
thwarted
wrong,
in
though.
Heaven's Ward. Oh yeah, no.
Not fucking wrong.
Like fucking Ishgard, it is not past me that is basically if you mix the Vatican with Americans. It's so yeah.
I mean, given that their gods were based on actual living people as well.
Yeah, that too. So, but yeah, like it would be like I feel like the only fantasy.
Oh my god, Grant, you just missed out on something so cool.
What did I miss out? That was so cool.
Nago's got a tiny tank.
Oh yeah, no,
Oh, the mount?
the mount.
Yeah, he's got a tiny tank.
Yeah, there's a tiny tank mount.
Yeah, it's so cute.
You know, there's a kettle.
just-
There's a kettle mount.
He's also got one that makes music.
There's a tea. You forget, Choji one day decided to come into the stream and show off all the different mounts that they got, and most recently, I was given a mount. Hang on a second, let me find it.
Oh, what one? What are you giving?
Mount guide. Here it is.
Are you gonna be able to summon it while you're over there?
Look at it. It's a bed.
Oh, it's a bed.
Oh crap! Oh crap! Oh,
Oh,
crap.
you were given the bed.
Yeah,
Oh,
look-
Jesus, that's huge.
It's like my new bed in my bedroom, except this one's lower to the ground. Look at it.
Ah, everyone's just. Oh, there's. Okay, Nago's just showing off the bed now too. He also got. Oh, he got a smaller bed.
And then there's a. Oh, that's silly.
And Xerix has a hippo with a carriage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you do the Fall Guys one?
Yeah, I've got the Fall Guys one.
You like go into this rhino, which I think is like a little meh.
Yeah, pretty.
It would have been nice if you could you know, actually sit atop it or something like that.
Oh, also, you should have a look over at my stream.
Uh-huh.
Nago's got this really cool jellyfish-looking thing.
Oh, I have that one. That's
Oh.
Beast
Hang
Tribes.
on, let me have a look. Let me just. Whoop.
Nice.
Nago, come over this way. Come over this way, so they can have a better look at it.
No, I see it. That's cool.
Look at it.
Okay, but did Naga get the TV out for you?
Wait, did Nago get the what?
The TV.
Did you get the TV, Nago?
He and I were sitting in them before.
Who knows?
They need to see the TV.
Alright, I'm gonna go talk to Sturla.
Okay.
Good, you're here. Thanks to the...
they got the TV.
Nice.
Trapped in the telly. Alright. I shall go over here while you're doing spoilery stuff.
More spoilery stuff. Thanks to the Exarch's gifts, our next course of action is now clear. Yeah, I got myself some gloves. I still need to figure out what the fuck to do with all these. It's so ridiculous. Alright, use this. Don't. There we go. Alright. Ding dong. You didn't know bed knobs and broomsticks had a crossover in this? Not many people know about bed knobs and broomsticks. Oh, it's auto-skipping. Initially believed it might detail the history of the Church of the First Light. Much to my surprise, it dates back to the end of the Ronkan Empire and was likely written under the direction of the reigning ruler. It was a time of strife and unceasing war with neighboring nations. With each passing day, they yield more and more territory to their enemies. In their desperation. Desperation, thank you. In their desperation, petitions for aid were sent out to their allies. This was one such petition. And you think this ancient petition will somehow help us get into Yixmaja? Indeed we do. By etching into this tablet is a method by which one may prove themselves an ally of the Ronkan Empire. Provided we are able to decipher said instructions, we may entreat the ruins' protectors to grant us safe passage. The problem, however, is I presently lack the resources to decipher them in their entirety. We have but one recourse. There exists a stone monument inscribed with ancient Ronkan text and the translations into a more modern dialect which came into use after the fall of the Empire. I am confident it will suit our purposes. Where can we find this monument? Here, in Cydia, quite close to Slitherborough, in fact. The good news ends there, however, for it is in the possession of a rather radical faction of dark worshippers. The Children of the Everlasting Dark. If I am to study the monument, I must infiltrate their encampment. I have no intention of taking longer than absolutely necessary, but I will nevertheless require time to transcribe the text I need. To ensure that, and I will have enough, I'm afraid I must ask you and Thancred to assist me. Fair enough. And before you even ask, the answer is no. If we're to remain unseen, our groups must be as small as possible. Alright, I'll stay here until you return. We won't be long. If anything should happen, you keep her safe. Look at this astrologian. Wait, what's...
Sorry, he's hot, what?
Oh wow! I wonder. I wonder what your type is. You get your partner and you're just like, honey, I have and you present them a costume and they're like, it's a dress, and it's like, no. Would you?
Please, if anything, I'm going to make him wear Night Elf attire. What?
Let us convene outside, to the west of the Slitherborough, where the path Wait, when you say Night Elf, are you talking about, like, the druid leader Night Elf? Like, the guy who can turn into a bear from World of Warcraft? Or are you talking, like, the sexy night hunters Night Elves that are just, like, tattoos and just scantily clad in the woods? Hang on a second. What's the name of...
I have no idea what you're referencing right
You said Night Elves, right?
Turn into a bear. What Night Elf leader turns into a bear?
Give me a second.
I would have a conniption.
Give me a second. Give me a second. It was Hearthstone.
Oh, thank you, Belle.
Hang on a second. Malfurion doesn't do that as far as I know. Yeah, I think that's who I'm thinking of. let me.
He doesn't.
Malfurion. Yeah, Malfurion! This guy turns into a bear, doesn't he? I swear, he turns into a bear. Hang on a second, chat. Let me.
I have to message Jenna.
Like, this dude right here. Donk. This dude right here. He turns into a bear, doesn't he? Look at this fucking druid. He turns in. I swear.
More likely, he turns into a boomkin.
A what? The fuck?
Moonkin!
Hang on a sec. I'm gonna go down to powers.
Belka's like, in a while longer, no one tell this.
The founder of the Cenarian Circle, Malfurion is viewed as a prophet and savior to his blah 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 blah. Wisest, I don't know how that's. Highborn, highest, able to defeat, yeah. Eye of Vortex, landmass shattering, cataclysm. Tell me what he can turn into. During the Fourth War, in bear form! In bear form! Fourth Age, in bear form! You're not telling me he can turn into a bear? It's called bear form!
That's not canon.
What do you mean it's not canon? What do you mean that's not canon? What do you mean that's not canon? The Fourth War, also called the Battle for Azeroth and the Blood War, was a global war. This is fucking World of Warcraft. This is just happened. This happened. This is an expansion. What do you mean this isn't canon? This is bullshit. There's a full-on like prelude and like everything. What do you mean?
I need my partner to not be at work right now because he would be having
Like,
the biggest thing.
He can summon treant allies, calling forth. Okay, there's an RPG. Hang on a second. If I control F bear, you're gonna be annoyed. World of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos. Yes, like, he's an elf. Okay, so he's a night elf sentinel within World of Warcraft 3. Can they, like, give us the Yeah, okay, cool. So... Spells and abilities for the Keeper of the Grove in Warcraft 3. Entangling Force of Nature, Thorns, Tranquility.
Uranizak has added quote number 451. What do you mean it's not canon?
Treants. He turned into a bear in the Fourth War. What do you mean? It's not canon. Druid of the Claw in War 3. Warcraft 3.
He's not really a dreamer though. Like he does the roots and thorns and treants.
Oh, hang on. I'm gonna save this image.
Oh my god.
Get ready. Get ready for
Go suck a lemon.
Fucking dying.
Alright, so if you're wondering why so that's Malfurion. Now, chat, I want you to tell me, what do you think this is? Oh, hang on, that's tiny as fuck. Give me a second. What do you think? Hang on a second. I'll get let me get a bigger image. Save image as. Why is it so small? There we go. All right, ding.
That's a player model.
That is not a player model. You know what this is, chat? You know what this is? This is the bear form used by the NPC Malfurion from patch 8.1. You know what this sounds like? It sounds like Malfurion has a bear form.
He probably does, but that's not his describing factor.
Ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure all druids can turn into any creatures of the forest.
Then why was he not with the druids of the claw and the rest of them? I don't know. They fucked around in Warcraft 3. But don't give me this shit of like, oh, this is not canon.
He's not a claw druid. He can turn into a bear, but he's not a claw druid.
No, he is a keeper of the grove in Warcraft 3. The enchanted keepers are favorite sons of the demigod Centaurus.
I think Velka's more upset that you referred to him as the dude that turns into a bear.
Yeah, and evidence, receipts, he turns into a bear. I was right. You can't fault me for being right. Look. All right.
I'm showing this one to my partner later so he can sit
take a clip. Take a clip for this energy.
Too much to clip. There's too much to clip. Way too much.
Oh my god, it's so great. All right, getting rid of. So yeah. So anyway, actually, I need to keep this up. So when you're talking about night elves, are you talking about like Malfurion Storm Rage, or are you talking about?
Has added quote number 452. You can't fault me for being right.
Hang on a second. The Moonblade.
You're talking about Demon Hunter.
Is it? Maybe it's the Demon Hunters? Like, hang on. There will be a. Oh, would you look at that in the Book of Heroes in bear form? Oh wow.
Illidan. Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot names.
Hang on. Okay, let me Google Illidan. Is this the one I'm thinking of?
What?
I just love how I read Velk's how he's like, you better not have been talking about it's like books are wildly not reliable to be canon. Like as if here it is. Here's an image. Save image as. Save. All right, I can fuck off this Malfurion one. All right, now, when you said night elf,
Take that out of context.
when you said night elf, which 3 flavors of night elf were you talking about?
just responded with a fucking gift from Goblin Slayer. He's going to kick you.
Benru22 paid me to say achievement unlocked. Argue about a particularly niche subject, on whether said subject is canonical or not.
I'm gonna copy this. I gotta.
Look at the flavors of night elf that Sashera could have been pointing to. I'm gonna be real. I was thinking of the top one. just being like, here, honey, here is your costume. It's a night elf.
Okay, but check it. This is what Dano just sent me.
What did they just send? I this is what they just sent. The goblins, like the actual goblin slayer. Oh.
I'm gonna kill you again.
Yeah. But yeah. Suck it, Velk. I was right.
See, the problem is, I could ask him to wear the outfit in the bottom left. He would ask me to wear the one at the top.
Then you ask, hey, how about you wear the one at the top? Do role reversals. You could pull off either of these bottom 2. Look at the cloak. Look at the gauntlets. You have hair.
How I'd get him to pull off the top one.
Oh, confidence and good shoulder pads.
True.
What did Benru just say? Grant, you realize so many people assume that Night Elf players were female, that male players in various RPGs have been harassed by thirsty guys simping after. I know this. I know there is like a terrible like This is why like one of my before Discord, before any of that kind of stuff, like just assume everyone is genderless. It makes it so much easier. Do not apply any gender until they decide to, you know, clarify or you hear them for the first time.
Look, all I will say is if he's going to dress up as Malfurion, he's going to make me dress up as Tyrande, and that's not negotiable.
Okay. You could always like subvert expectations and go, oh yeah, I'll go a night elf, and instead you go as Banshee woman from the undead. She's technically.
Oh no, I'd get murdered for that.
Why would you get no? Oh, actually, yeah, we are dumb. Gamers are dumb. They would look at the Banshee and think you were literally her. There'd be
no. It's more just no one likes that character anymore.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, did they just fuck her up that much?
Yep.
Oh.
They pulled a morally grey card on her, and she hasn't been the same ever since.
Damn. I thought she was just going to be like full on like evil and it would have been like a fun thing where it's just like, agency has been taken away from me ever since I've joined the Horde. This is my opportunity to have my own agency once again. Fuck you guys.
No, she basically took over the Horde because she was given command to do so. Started doing some really sketchy shit, which then culminated into her finding the World Tree of the Night Elves, burning it to the ground because someone said bet.
I will agree. That one's about on the same level as Eren Yeager thinking, oh yeah, genocide, that's a good idea. It's not. I think most people looking at it are not, but if people can look at Eren Yeager and be like, oh yeah, he's a cool character. I thought we were gonna get something with Sylvanas where it's like, oh yeah, she could be a cool character. But
yeah, see, Velk's got it. Velk already knows. I have the TLDR version, but you ask any WoW player about Sylvanas and you won't believe it.
Radio, fair enough. So, alrighty then. Y'shtola. The encampment we seek is to the north, but it would be foolish to simply rush in. A guard has been posted at Eric to keep watch over the children. Perhaps he has aught to share of their recent activity. But we must tread carefully. There is a chance we may encounter them along the way. Stay close and stay alert. I would avoid a confrontation if possible. They rejoice in dealing death to each other, claiming that in doing so they cleanse their victims of sin and usher them onto the sunless sea. I would rather not sully my hands defending myself against such madmen. Alrighty. You know you're old when you realize listening to Seven Nation by the White Stripes is the direct equivalent of your 30-40-year-old listening to the Beatles or David Bowie. Wait, Seven Nation Army is not that old. 2003. Okay, hang on a second. If you were listening to Meatloaf, then you would be old. Because you know what came out in 1993? I would do anything for love, parentheses, but I won't do that. 20 years. Okay, yeah, sure, but let's go for something 30 years ago. You love the music, and look at this area, it's so pretty. I will be real with you, Velk. I recognize the music, and the reason why is because of, what's the nickname they gave the artist? Sochi?
Socken?
Socken. Is like my first experience with this song is him with two fucking automatons, goes up to the stage, and he's just like, do you know Lahi? And does like...
Soken is a genius.
He is, like, he took it in stride and was able to just be like this terrible... Because he can probably do so well his rendition of his music.
And an incredible musician, and is very capable of being on tune, but he deliberately went completely off key.
Yep. Because I think most people in the meme... It's like when Jurassic Park gets played, and then someone decides to get the recorder equivalent, and the recorder is terrible. And then you have John Williams come in, and he's like, what do you know? Welcome to Jurassic Park. And then he just whips out the recorder and plays it off key. It's that level of commitment to the meme. It's amazing.
He is a fucking brilliant man, and I love him.
Yep. No. Respectable. Absolutely.
Like, I'm pretty sure one fan fest he decided to play one of his music tracks on a box.
By the blessed dark. Thank goodness you are unharmed. We would have arrived sooner, but we too had a rather unwelcome visit from the children. You are an acquaintance of Master Matoya, then? My apologies. The children have been acting strange of late, so I thought to take a closer look. I was careless. Strange. What have you seen? At first, there seems to be nothing out of the ordinary. The usual gathering of ingredients for poisons from flora and fauna. But then, I took notice of their venomous spiders. They have been breeding them in much greater numbers. It's as if they're preparing for something. Any idea as to what? Could be anything, really. If it meant the end of the Blessed, nothing would be too cruel or violent for them. But perhaps we can use their present as in preoccupation with spiders to our advantage. If we were to introduce a threat to the nests where they keep them, the children would be compelled to save them. Bees, for example, are a natural predator. Is that true? Bees are a natural predator of spiders?
I can say it.
Like, makes sense. It's sort of like, you know, just a matter of factly of like, oh yeah, every fly is a prey to a spider. That's probably not 100% true, but we just go, yeah, makes sense, 100%. The Super Mario movie from 1990. Oh my gosh. And then Mortal Kombat came out.
I sent you the clip in DMs.
Wait. Mortal Kombat 2 came out 2 years ago? What? You're talking to... No. What? Hang on. The one to the sequel to 2020. Oh, 30 years ago. God, I thought you were... We had a recent Mortal Kombat film. We have been getting bangers in the video game to other mediums, you realize. We've been actually getting some pretty good... Granted, like, the Warcraft film wasn't, you know... I kind of enjoyed it, but that was because, you know, I got the ticket for free and what have you, and I barely knew Warcraft then, and I was just like, who's this? Who's that? Why do I give a fuck about him? Why does she look so human for an orc? Idiot screeching noises. So yeah, there's another Mortal Kombat film that's... Because there's the Mortal Kombat film that came out in, like, the 2020s, and this one is going to be apparently... Hang on. Yeah, Carl Urban is in this one. As... Johnny Cage! Oh, I'm excited. Nice. Alright, you're still up. We were to introduce bees, for example, are a natural predator of spiders. Set them loose on the nests, and we will have our opportunity to sneak into their encampment. What a mischievous plan. I like it. With a bit of smoke, we should be able to subdue a few colonies long enough to secure their hives. Have you anything we might be able to use? We should have smoke bombs at the outpost just over there. Then it is settled. Grab a few smoke bombs from the outpost and search around for beehives. I imagine the bees won't take too kindly to your visit, but once they're knocked out, take the beehives and bring them back here. 2 will suffice, I should think. When she was meant to be a Daedric orc. Ah. Look, I didn't know a lot about... Like, I knew about Warcraft 3, for instance, when the Warcraft film came out and such, so I was kind of hoping it would be, like, telling me either the start of World of Warcraft or start of Warcraft 3 kind of thing. But they went with Warcraft 1. And it wasn't until someone made a brilliant video essay, a guy named Breadsword. I will link... I've already linked this in the, I've already linked it in the chat in the past in my Discord, but there's a guy named Breadsword, and he talks about, like, it was about Tintin specifically, the essay, but he talks about Warcraft because, you know, he went through the film and he wanted to write his thoughts, but then it got scrapped because everyone was like, you know, they were just like, you know, criticizing it all beyond hell, and he didn't feel like his voice was going to offer anything new to it. And it was only gets brought up when he wants to talk about Tintin and the fact about artists when they go into a new IP, like this, and whether or not they are going to try and stand in front of or behind giants. So, oop. Cookie for Bookie! Oh my god, why is this thing so... Thank you for doing big hits to it. So yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
So yeah, because the guy explains, like, you know, he picked, like, probably one of the worst times for, you know, a newbie to get into Warcraft, and how maybe following Arthit, because they want, like, this was back when Marvel was in, like, phase 2 of, like, their cinematic universe, so everyone was sort of thinking, oh, we have a chance, and trying to rush through their cinematic universe creation, forgetting the fact that Marvel, like, they weren't competing against other franchises, they were just competing against, like, maybe 1 or 2 films, like, doing their thing. Any whoosies. Yep, we'll do. Smoke bomb. But yeah, any whoosies. When they he explains that they didn't pick a really great time for it, and they were definitely incentivizing. God damn it, Bookie. Alrighty, do I need another... Oh, wait, I need to pick up the beehives. Hang on a second. Oh, I need to do it twice. Wait, what? Use the large burlap... Oh, there it is. If I read the instructions, it works. Anything's better than taking away your shirt. Fair enough. But yeah, I'm probably going to keep keep a lot of those redeems turned off for the rest of the year, quite frankly, because as you guys are, like, you're either aware about this, where the Twitch TOS has been reversed again, or you're not aware, in which case, there was, like, about a day time frame where Twitch allowed for fictionalized butt, boob, and penis to be visible on stream without a mature rating tag. That did not go very well. And there's a mixture of VTubers who had no chill and pushed the boundary, artists that were doing their experimentation and then, you know, they got banned for whether or not it was worth it or not. And then there was people on the reaction that had no fucking chill. And so now we're back here where none of that is allowed. And, you know, most people are either blaming Twitch for a really poor implementation of the TOS change, which I understand, but I don't like, because most people who blame Twitch don't blame, they normally just blame the corporation and then just absolve everyone else outside of it of their wrongdoing. Nothing can go wrong with the new TOS. Just got hit with 9 advertisements. Yes, there. Yeah, thank you, Bookie. There's errors on both sides. And, like, because, yes, Twitch could have implemented it a lot better. My personal take on what they should have done is they needed to do a lot more UI changes in preparation of this TOS change, and they probably should not have made it that the TOS change was enacted immediately. Absolutely terrible idea. What they should have done is said, hey, from, like, December 27th, for instance, push it back to, like, a week or two later, saying, hey, from December this and this, we are going to allow these changes are going to be enacted, which means these following things. If you do these things before the date, you will get hit with a ban and what have you. And then after this date, we're going to have other things implemented so that you're okay with this. So that would have been my first thing, is not do the TOS change immediately, because shit goes down when 1 million people decide to test things. And then the second thing is actually changing the UI. Either blurring or just simply removing the sexual theme streams from being in, top viewed or recommended or on the homepage, because they didn't do that. And then it was made even worse when those that did reach up to the top and such like that with the adult themes tag on them and such did not have their videos blurred. The thumbnail very specifically showed dick and booby when it popped up. And this happened irregardless of the age you set on your account. This annoys me so much about the internet because of how COPPA is fashioned. But there is very little standardization on what should happen when people because ideally no one under the age of 18 should be on the internet. That's the ideal thing. Because the only reason people are on the internet is because of commerce and communication. And
sorry, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the internet?
We're talking about the internet, because I'm very much of the opinion of the internet has never been for children, and it's very, I just feel like it's wrong that we have so much work being done on trying to accommodate underage people on the internet rather than just keep them out.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. The internet now has become a thing that it's never going to be just one age now. It's going to be for the ages of all and everyone at this point.
Yeah, but there's in real life, for instance, there is a very clear means of being able to separate, even if you go into, say, an RSL or some shit like that, there's a very clear means of you being able to be like, look, if you're going to be in here, underage people don't go into RSLs unless they have a parent accompanied or some shit like that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, even when the child is in there, there isn't a means for them to be able to absorb, alcohol and all that kind of shit. There is none of this sort of practice done on the internet. Unless it's, porn websites where it's very, very critical. Where it's, proper, just generalized, hey, don't come in here if you're under the age or some shit like that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Xerix. Xerix was just saying that kids pretty much use streamers just to babysit their children.
Yeah, which, that's not fair. None of us as streamers should be used as a fucking babysitting service. And what's more is, the quote-unquote adult content that can exist, that we will communicate, isn't always going to be, ass and titties. It is sometimes going to be very depressing nonsense or political foreign affairs stuff that
No, that's very true.
So it's are we supposed to just not have these conversations? Because I feel like that's a little irresponsible to just sort of be like, oh, you on the internet that has nothing to do with my child can't talk about these things. It's I want to be yeah.
Yeah, I'll admit, I've seen my mother use YouTube as a way to sort of keep my niece out of sort of shenanigans. Even I'm like to mum, look, mum, you can't be using this.
Yeah.
So that's why mum then got her a game console.
So yeah, we're just talking about we moved on from World of Warcraft nonsense and hiding behind giants or standing before them kind of thing. I'll link you the essay video, Sashera, so you know what I'm talking about, because it's a great essay video. It talks about the adventures of Tintin film. It's fantastic. But then,
ooh, I love Tintin.
Yeah, I think I shared you this essay video before, Code.
I think you did share it with me.
Yeah. But now we're on to the internet because of the whole recent TOS change and moving past the whole Twitch, both sides are to blame on this one, because some people want to point fingers at Twitch only, and then some people want to point fingers at VTubers or artists artist with minimal pointing at Twitch, but I'm of the case of like we're both in this wrong here because Twitch could have done things differently and we could have been a lot more respectful because this is technically people's job at this point, and we did not care.
Yeah.
And now we're on to like the general thing of the internet where kids should not be on the internet, and I'm annoyed with the amount of effort we go into allowing them on rather like or accommodating for them on the internet unsupervised rather than just walling off like they should. Like, sure.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah. South Korea, like, some people might hate that, of the, you need to have your driver's license linked to YouTube in order to access YouTube content, but quite frankly, like...
It's not a bad idea in a sense, but you need to have a way, because that being said, if they're going to do linked driver's license, they're going to need to find a way to differentiate between what driver's license comes from which country.
What the...
Someone trying to invite you to an FC.
Yeah, we're still waiting. I'm still waiting on that invite from
Goblin Big. Who the fuck is... You have been asked to sign a free company petition to form a new free company. Player must first obtain the signature of 3 other who agree to become the founding members.
Oh, he needs people to approve his free company.
Oh.
I'm guessing he doesn't have enough people to do that.
I don't know who this is.
Oh yeah, and Nago's on the thing of like, if we were to give our information like that, very high possibilities of, identity theft.
Oh yeah, there'd be more occurrences of it. Like, don't get me wrong, if people want to get your identity, they will, but anything that makes it easier for them is not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, but the other... I'm not gonna sign it. I don't know who this is.
Just say no.
Yeah.
Say no.
So yeah, because the art, like, my issue I have with people that are like, oh, our identity on the internet when a massive company owns it and such like that, because I work in a massive company right now, and even in my position where I'm unrelated in the private information, every year I have to go through training on you can't use this shit unless you get explicit permission. It is a fine per person per incident if you fuck this up. Even just a mistaken email sending is technically a breach, and you need to report that. Otherwise, you get there's so much.
Hey Grant.
Hey, what's up?
Guess what I just got?
Did you get a free company?
They're watching us on stream right now. I will bet $20 on that.
Hi.
They went straight from you.
Gift me subs.
Straight to me.
Gift me subs. I have no means of confirming that gifting me subs will have you join the free company, but it wouldn't hurt. I'm sure some of my viewers would very much love subs. Look at these people. The ones without the energy drinks beside them, they don't have a sub. They could very well want a sub. Look at them.
Sorry there, big guy. As much as I would love to do that. Wow, I hadn't even clicked away yes on it. No on it. It still had a perfect countdown and clicked away. I think they figured out we're onto them.
Nice. Alrighty then. Yestola!
Also, for some reason, Nago's mount looks like it's wearing fishnets.
That's because those are fish legs.
Yeah, but it looks like it's wearing fishnet stockings. I mean, look at it.
It's because they're fish legs.
Your fish legs.
But yeah, the concern of your information getting leaked and such like that, guess what? When it actually comes down to it, it is very, sure, in Australia, that's happened with Optus, and...
Optus, sorry.
just a knee-jerk reaction from Code, hearing the words Optus.
Yeah, I'm probably going to change over to Telstra in the next year or so.
You should have changed so much sooner, quite frankly.
I'm in a contract, I can't.
Oh, that's shit. But yeah, so basically Optus had, so much people's information leaked. They did not have a massive number of people leaving their thing. When the chips come down and shit like that, people give up this privacy thingamadiggy for convenience and what have you. It would have made a lot more sense for them to quit well ahead and then go into Telstra, but they didn't because it was just so much cheaper and what have you. So that's why when people are like, oh, I don't want to do this because of private information, I'm like, bitch, I have seen when you're not when you are not caring about your private information. Don't tell me this thing that would help everyone. Everyone is what gives you the heebie-jeebies. The fact that the only like real issue that arises from a credit card linked to an internet account is the idea that you would no longer have like multiple identities on the internet right now. That's what I feel like that's what would come up, is the idea that there would no longer be compartmentalization on the internet. Also, good morning, Tabitha.
You know, I'm honestly a little bit pissed, just in general, because I think that the change to the TOS could have been a really positive one if people hadn't gone fucking crazy about it.
I agree. And it's annoying because, like, there's a whole domino effect that went off. But I feel like so many people, both within Twitch and outside of it, they can probably very likely point to about the same person as where did it start, and it's like Marina VT or something like that. Because like because whenever there was talk about the TOS being problematic and shit, that image of her with her avatar nude, with her like model, like another avatar nude that's like, you know, all like full body and shit, and then her with her commission piece nude on the left side of the screen, that's the image that everyone sees.
Yeah. And
it's annoying because she's partner as well. There's only like 60,000 partners on Twitch. The whole point of them is that they're meant to be Twitch's cream of the crop. They're meant to be the exemplars. And our exemplars?
Nago found the Ivan dude that sent you the thing. He's apparently there near you and is a Rothgar.
Watch as I scan my surroundings. I'm not seeing any. Anyway, they'll probably pop up. I gotta keep moving. The child settlement is to the west, a place they call Woven Oath. According to the guards, there's an airway apart from the entrance, which leads to the spider's nest. If the fates are kind, the way will be clear. But yeah, there's so many problems. Like, because it boils down to the case of VTubers taking a mile when given an inch. Artists were in their right of, like, you know, experimenting here and there. Some of them went further than others. Others, you know, kept it tame and what have you. Like, because it's like, I remember one artist doing a fucking million titty Garfield, like, Eldritch Being thing. They did not get a ban. I think it's because they're not even an affiliate or some shit like that. But
like, the thing with fucking, like, I don't think Walk got hit with a ban, but he got hit with hate rates.
Yep.
Oh, did he?
He did.
Yeah. And it's
when
like,
was this?
all he was doing was making
two nights ago.
Making some penis.
Yeah, so there would be a massive number of follows going off. Siribot didn't grab him or anything like that, so Kusaki and his moderators were basically just manually banning him and shit like that, which was... Oh, boy. But yeah, so we had this first wave, which was...
Is he still going to be streaming at the moment after that?
Probably not as often, but...
Well, I mean, he never really wanted to super often stream anyway, but I think it would have been beneficial for people to be able to see this, because let's be honest, Walk is a not safe rock artist. It's the thing that he's mostly passionate about.
And it's one of his most successful avenues outside of Twitch.
Also, did you notice the water?
Oh, there's, confetti. No, those are Oh! Oh, those are gems! That's... Wait, are these, like... These are all... Oh, these are all heartstones, aren't they? Hang on.
More than likely, yeah.
More than likely. Hang on, I'm gonna get out of the water. This feels disrespectful. Alrighty, so yeah, Walk's thing, like... Here's the thing, is that there are some artists, like Emufur, Wulcond, where the removal of Twitch is probably not the end of the world for them. They didn't have to do a huge following on Twitch. There isn't like a revenue reliance on them and such. Because, you know, some artists, they do the content creation and diversify and what have you. But then there are a lot of artists like Attack Rack, for instance, where I feel like there are artists that are just on the internet. Oh, hang on a sec. Is this him? Naga. Oh no, this is someone else.
That's Nago. So they've been hanging around with me at the moment.
Ah yes, Nago 135, right?
Yeah. Look at how gorgeous their armor sets are. You should honestly have a look at their armor sets.
It honestly looks beautiful. I am very jealous.
I was looking at the axe. I was like, Grant would want that axe.
It's really
I hate to say it, I'm pretty sure that's an ultimate axe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like some of the armor, however, is dyed as well, though.
Yep.
More than likely, but they've taken a look at that armor and gone, yep, I can run this on my character and have it look really spicy.
Yeah.
Elemental. Yeah. So the axe is an ultimate weapon.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
you have to clear an ultimate fight basically. For that one.
Not likely gonna happen. So yeah. Also, you need to get on TikTok so I can share TikTok to you directly rather than doing dozens of other. Because there's so many TikToks that pop up that I'm like, I gotta share this. It just makes my life easier.
Yeah, but if I end up on TikTok, then it's another thing for my ADHD brain to latch onto that's not doing artwork.
You're right. But yeah. But no, so we had our first wave, which was, everyone experimenting with the TOS. Some of them, properly experimentation, like Bowel Buddy doing Michelangelo's David, Attack Rack with the pinup, and then there was like one or two artists that were just like, here's a penis on a character kind of thing, and it just felt a little bit, too much. The rest of the internet catches up to this TOS thing, and we then get into our second wave, which is, because Scribbly Noodle, for instance, like there was people who parody the TOS thing. So, for example, Scribbly Noodle has like Germa, twerking on his stream and such like that repeatedly and shit. Obviously, was meant to be like a joke, but like I feel like if you weren't in on the joke, his stream would have been indistinguishable from all the other art streams that were just filled with people just having a compilation of twerking and shit like that. So we had the second wave of all these people just at this point either flaunting the breakage of rules in a way because it was like, oh, it's technically allowed and it's only the wrong category technically, and then those who organized to do the hate raids and the mass reportings and shit like that. And Twitch says they don't do insta bans based off of like report quantity or something like that, but I feel like that can't be the case sometimes. I feel like there's got to be some automated system of banning that was introduced in some shit. Does this TOS not, like, it's really quick to lock things down, don't get me wrong, but Twitch doing a freedom TOS change like this one, this would not have been done in a few days because of the topless meta. This would have been done months ago, and they mention in the post that this was something that artists asked for years. So this was definitely a case of legal trying to explain what would need to change in the TOS, and developers for the UI UX saying this is something that we possibly would have to look into doing if we wanted to, safeguard our, the user experience depending on age.
Yeah.
So.
No doubt, I agree with you on that.
So.
Because what they implemented where you had to have the tag on, I think works.
The problem is
that they've just straight up taken it away completely because some people were being stupid about it is frustrating as hell.
It is frustrating, and then some people
honestly should bring it back. It needs to come back into the mix.
The thing I have that I'm a little like, because we have right now all the different, like if I go to my stream information, I can adjust the content classification tags. So things like drug invocation, excessive tobacco use, gambling, significant profanity, sexual themes, violent and graphic. I just have sexual themes turned on the entire time because, like, people may not agree with this take, but people still look at furries as a sex thing, and there's nothing I can do besides continuing to exist as a furry to counteract that.
Oh yeah, no, I totally get it.
So until furries change, which, let's be real, just listen to that statement. Until furries change, sexual themes is going to be stuck on my thingamadiggy probably forever. Despite all of these content classifications, there has been no UI element changes for people coming people viewing streams with content classifications or people discovering streams with content classifications?
On your thing of that whole the whole Twitch thing, there was a recent post from that I saw just recently that sort of it gave me a bit of a giggle about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was from Pictaro. So apparently there was a post from them recently.
Oh.
I don't know how to spell it.
Pictaro TV. I wonder if there's a tweet. They have a Twitter account. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, you found it?
To all artists. This was 11 hours ago as well, so this is definitely when Twitch repealed their TOS. To all artists, for over 10 years, Picardo TV has welcomed creative minds from all over the world. We will continue to support both not safe for work and safe for work artwork and provide a safe space to grow and stream among like-minded people, as artistic freedom is important to us and is a major value to the art community. All artists are welcome to join our ever-growing community at pictaro.tv. And then their quote, and then their comment underneath it is the meme of Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook kicking not safe for work, and then Picardo coming in and giving him a hug. So
yeah, pretty much.
That honestly, they could have sent that image first, and then the Picardo, because that would have been seen as like a W on the internet, and they would have, because the issue I have with Picardo is that yes, it's a streaming service that allows artists of not safe work and safe work to do their stuff, but it doesn't offer the same avenues of commerce as Twitch does.
Yeah.
So, because with Twitch, not only do you have the subscription model, Twitch Turbo, advertisement, and cheering available, and extensions as well, which is technically an extension of Cheers, you have like 5 different ways of getting money from Twitch usage. And that's before we go into PayPal, Throne, and all the other platforms there. Whereas with Picardo, that's not there. Those 5 things are not there as far as I know. Maybe subscriptions, but that's not pushed as like a valuable thing. It's not like pushed as important to the ecosystem of Twitch or to the ecosystem as it is with Twitch. Maybe that's because they're playing a different game and I don't recognize this game. That's okay. But that's what I'm observing as a difference. Where else can artists go? Unfortunately, conventions, their own spaces, Blue Sky, Mastodon. The issue isn't that artists don't have a place to go. There are way more places for artists to go now than there were like 20 years ago, 10 years ago. The difficulty is that the places that are available to them, that they've garnered a following and such, are very much interested in stifling them. And because most people only know of like artists across maybe 1, maybe 2 platforms, very rare. Like, for example, there are so many people that I know of artists on Twitter, but I'm not in their Discords. I'm not aware of their Discord servers. I'm not aware of any Discord. Like, Panthera has a Discord, and there's dozens of artists in Panthera's Discord server. But I only know of Pan's Discord server because of Pan. The same can be said for Blue Sky, for instance. Not everyone from Twitter goes to Blue Sky. Tumblr, same sort of, like, we have so many places to go, but then that brings in the other problem where some people don't want to go everywhere. They want to just stay in the one thing, and that's the...
And that creates a divide, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Though at this point, Blue Sky is sort of... I think Blue Sky may take over X not too long.
For artists, I want to believe you, because it is being... Because, like, the way I look at Blue Sky right now, there is some issue where some people are like, fuck, I don't want to see a penis again, because there's no separation between fictionalized not safe for work and realistic not safe for work. But the times I'm using Blue Sky, however, it feels more like as a content creator, I need to add things to Blue Sky rather than I want to engage on Blue Sky. But maybe that will change once they support GIFs, videos, and other kind... Like, I don't know what Blue Sky would need to do that's agnostic to Twitter fucking up.
Yeah.
So. At least has the card that they're still working on improving. Yeah, no. Blue Sky's improving. And Blue Sky is better in the not safe for work than Twitter is. That's what's got going it for it. But now it needs to keep the momentum up. And I don't know and I don't know how they would do that. Story time. Up there is the airway. Do you see it? Hang on, let me get my binoculars out. A bit far, perhaps, but we should be able to toss the bag, though. Though we should probably loosen the rope keeping it closed, enough that it falls open when it lands inside. May I do the honors? Well, like I said to Code, people have ignorantly allowed bots to join Blue Sky. That's why they did the invitations at first, to try and stifle bot invites. But one of the things I do like about Blue Sky is you can have accounts marked as bots or parody accounts. That's a huge deal. Twitter doesn't have that. Twitter does not have a way for you, unless they decide to report it themselves, there is not a way for you to be able to discern a parody account from a real account. Whereas with Blue Sky, oh, so many political accounts, and I just have this fucking massive disclaimer of, this is a parody account. Now we wait. What was the name of the fucking... It's a very popular meme account on Twitter called Dill. That's it. Dill is classified as a parody account on Blue Sky. And I think that's right. I think that's a good move. Bees! By the abyss, they're everywhere. Sash, say bees in panic.
Bees!
Bees! Bees! Help! Sounds like our plan is working. Still, it's quite likely not all were drawn away from their posts. If you should come to blows with the children, I will see to it. Cookie for Tabitha! Here's your cookie. I'll see to it any signs of struggle are concealed. Failing that, I'll create a distraction to buy you stolen more time. Should anyone get past me, it falls to you to guard her. Your concern is appreciated, but I sincerely doubt it will come to that. Why do I get the feeling you enjoy the idea of my loathing after bored in the shadows? Come now, Thancred. The shadows are a fitting place for a warrior of darkness. Now, if you both are ready... Here we go.
The himbos are looking at each other.
It's fine. Himbos, Takaza! Alrighty. So, I gotta get up to this path. Get my motorcycle out. Oh, I gotta get past these guys, don't I?
Yeah, just go.
Dun, dun, dun. I like that I'm level 81 as well, so it's like not a disaster for me running through here. The womb? Oops. You're gonna help me out, right? Yeah, you are. Thank you. Thank you. The font of seeing suggests that this is a chamber for prayer. At the very least, they should not place their near potential distractions from their workshop. Perhaps the monument is further in. You make no sense. Huh. Is that supposed to be a flower? Alright. And then we've got...
This one will look more familiar.
Oh, yep, that one looks way more familiar. Oh, hey, there's, fucking potato people right there. Alrighty, you read your tombstone and tell me what it says. Yes, this is it. I will be but a moment. Keep watch of the entryway. On second thought, would you mind examining the murals on these walls while I look over this? At a glance, I can tell they are old, predating the founding of the Blessed and the Children, in fact. We're not like to come here a second time. 'Twould behoove us to learn all that we can. Behoove. Alrighty. Lahi. One day I will learn the lyrics and do it incorrectly. Alrighty, so... Is this... A ruler sitting atop a throne, attended by their subjects, so that's one of them. A warrior in the mid... Oh, they stand triumphant over a dark thingy-madiggy. Other figures surrounding the warrior rejoiced in their victory. And then over here is a faded mural with what looks to be the Warriors of Darkness, or like, you know, basically what would have been the Warriors of Light on this side. A knight shielding himself and their comrades from an encroaching darkness, the central figure is considerably faded. Which is supposed to be, begins with A. Ardbert. I was about to say Albert. Good old Al.
These paintings, they seem familiar.
Oh, hi, Ardbert.
Depictions of heroes throughout history. The Age of Gods, the Empire of Ronka, and this.
It's kind of like a Rosetta Stone if you took a really long fucking time to do each section of the Rosetta Stone. Surely you recognize your party, Ardbert.
There was a man, a researcher who pored over these pieces. He offered us work when we needed it, slaying beasts, delivering provisions. A funny old bugger he was, but he had a good heart. He believed this first painting dated back to a time of myth and legends.
I'm sorry, but
the heroes of a long forgotten
okay,
era.
chat can't, like, they're thingy-majiggy. Let me just hide him. Look at this dude. Look at his fucking hair.
The story went that it was rediscovered by an explorer from Ronka, who was so struck by its majesty that a second painting was commissioned, commemorating the heroes of their day.
Is he gonna move?
One day you will all be here too, he said. Heroes immortalized forever. Maybe I'll paint you myself.
No, the pompadour. We don't give a shit about the glasses. Those look cool as fuck. That's definitely in the fantasy element. But look at the fucking pompadour. He looks like he belongs in a Yakuza game with that fucking pompadour.
I had a good laugh at that. We were only trying to make our way after all. Being heroes couldn't have been further from our minds. But it seems he actually went and did it. Before or after the flood, I wonder.
I'd say before, because there is a lot of damage here, and it feels like, you know, purposeful.
Rather faded, isn't it, compared to the others? Did someone try to scrape it off the wall? Well, maybe the man himself once he came to his senses. Do you suppose your deeds will warrant an addition to this collection? Or some other kind of monument?
There you are. I have everything I need. Let us quit this place.
Ardbert really gets me thinking some days.
That's what he's designed for.
Yeah.
Is something the matter?
I have not thought this hard
The
since,
others
like,
are waiting.
Heaven's Ward and A Realm Reborn.
So this is part of why I love this expansion so much. It just drops little things. Just little things everywhere.
It's not rushing us. It's not trying to get us onto like the big things of like how is a nation rising up from like subjugation and what have you. Instead, it's a case of like, you know, oh, we didn't think we were going to be like these great heroes or anything like that, and you know, despite not aiming for such things, we almost hit that, and then suddenly we're cast out and seen as traitors and such. Do you ever look at yourself like that through your adventures? And it's like, should we think this way? And are we only here? Because one thought I have, because of Ardbert and shit, is would we have been doomed to do the same things as he did? But in the source, I mean. If we didn't see him. Because the events of, like, the beginning of Heaven's Ward, like, and technically the patch just before it, where, Lady the Potato Queen, what's her name? The Sultana, that's it. Because, you know, from the events of the Sultana, we had already seen the Warriors of Darkness from there, and I feel like we would have done much different actions in that thing compared to before we met the Warriors of Darkness. The whole, I don't know.
I mean, quite potentially, yeah.
Yeah, we could have easily have like become, you know, the epitome of darkness in like the source as they were in the first. I believe I now have everything needed to finish deciphering the tablet. Tell me, Grant, did the murals appear to be of any significance? Depictions of heroes from the Age of Gods, the Ronkan Empire, and immediately before the Flood. Very astute observations. Perhaps in another lifetime you could be a curator of antiquities. Though it has no bearing on the task at hand, perhaps that knowledge may prove to be of use in the future. New boots. Thirst for knowledge sated. She seems content to return to the Thingamadoog. Alright, the others are waiting. As soon as there's anything, you'll be the first to know. Alright, looks like we're heading back.
I will, at this point, just quietly mention that Ardbert is not the only one still watching us right now.
Okay, well, I'm imagining the first one that popped into my head was Xenos, because he was just like, this is boring. I thought you guys would be better at this, and he just fucking snaps his fingers, and I'm like, bitch. That annoyed me the second. The second one is, the dude, the random Ivan dude that was like, oh, hey, petition? That's my second thought.
Lore-wise.
Oh, okay, lore-wise? Alright, well, my first guess is Xenos. My second guess is the Exarch, because, I don't know, like, I feel...
Okay, his name is not Xenos.
What's his name? I forgot his... Emmett. Oh yeah, his name's Emmett. God, what a fucking name for a villain. Emmett. It's like if you learned Arnold was the antagonist. No, not Arnold. Fucking, what's his name? The Aardvark. His name is Yeah, it is Arnold, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had multiple cartoons with Arnold as the main protagonist. What was up with Arnold, honestly? What do you want?
I don't know, they made an entire cartoon about it though.
Yes, they did. But yeah, Emmett. Fucking Emmett.
Don't make fun of Emmett.
Emmett is not a villain. Emmett.
Don't make fun of my Emmett Silk. I will bully you.
Hello, Runa. Oh, I'm too far away. Hold on a second. Let me get... Grant! The guards told me you left with Master Matoya at the Woven Oath. And no sooner do you return that she locks herself in her chambers without so much as a word. You know how I worry when she leaves without telling me. Lesai. But she is safe, and that is all that matters.
He just Lesai.
He's French. He's meant to. Clip. You must be hungry after such a journey. Why not have a seat there by the fire? The stew will soon be ready. Lesai. I thought it right there. Here we go. I strongly theorize if we never encountered Ardbird and Co., we would have drowned the source in light with our blind dedication, getting us defied by the general populace. Yeah.
Yep.
I support that. Very much so. It brought in an interesting question, like of the especially introducing it into the fantasy trope, because we don't get this in the fantasy trope very often unless they decide to broach it. Is the hey, what do you do after the cycle of violence that you are a part of? Very few fantasies will ever confront it, and it's only right for a fantasy to confront it when they acknowledge a cycle of violence. If they don't acknowledge it, then there's no point in us questioning them how they will combat it, because it's outside the scope of the fantasy.
The others on patrol should have returned by now. Our food will be overcooked if we wait any longer.
Our food will be overcooked if we wait any longer.
We will just have to start without them. Would you call Master Matoya and the others?
Would you... Yeah, someone's watching us right the fuck now.
I'm tired of these games, Urianger. Why do you pretend you cannot see it?
Hmm?
Oh.
What does he know?
The blessing may spare him the fate of becoming a Light Warden. But you cannot be blind to the nascent corruption. He is not as he was in the source.
As I said, you can't have been bleached out at the moment.
Yeah. Was he supposed to say anything then? I feel like I'm... Never mind.
No.
Though I have no proof, I fear that the light which poured forth from the Wardens was not negated at all. I fear it was absorbed, that he has been suffused with their light.
Though I have given thought to this possibility, I dare not speak until more is known.
Meaning he doesn't want us worrying about the fact that we think we're a bit of a sponge for light instead of an eraser.
By the time you deign to enlighten us, it may be too late, if it is not already.
Maybe, maybe not.
Urianger, I know full well, after all these years, that you have only the best of intentions. But that does not make it any easier to put my faith in a man so infatuated with secrecy. I have had my suspicions ever since the Exarch bade you speak that day. But now I must ask. The 8th Umbral Calamity and all that followed. Everything you claim to have seen. Did you?
Help! Someone help!
Uh-oh.
The Almorans have come for us! We're under attack!
Oh, son of a bitch.
You thought it was more Light Wardens? I thought it was more Light Wardens.
Your friends are keeping secrets from you.
Oh my god. Meanwhile, in Ulmore.
Oh, are we gonna see Angry Baby Man again?
Oh.
Yay, Angry Baby Man time!
Angry Baby Man. Whenever those kinds of thingamajiggies pop up at the bottom, I try and make it sound like from the cartoons of like Justice League and such, where it's like, meanwhile at the Legion of Doom.
Right, he got an invitation, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did, because they were like, oh, we believe you might be knowing about something about this. And this fucking music.
Lord Vorthry, how good it is to see you. How long has it been? Not since your inauguration, unless I'm mistaken. Too long, at any rate. May I say how humbled I am to be invited not only into your city, but your home. You are as generous as ever.
He sounds so sarcastic too. It's like
he does. He knows exactly.
He was disingenuous. Let us dispense with the pleasantries. This merry band of dissidents people are calling warriors of darkness. They have slain sin-eaters, and by all accounts the Crystarium is complicit in their villainy. And now I hear reports of your people obstructing my soldiers, so I must ask, what exactly do you think you are doing?
I might ask you the same thing. It should be clear, even to you, that defeating the Light Wardens represents the world's only hope of survival. Even now, the people of Lakeland and Ilmeg rejoice in the return of night. For 100 years, they yearned for a means to fight back against the Sin-Eaters, and at last they have found one. Yet you choose to stand idly by and do nothing. Why?
Why? Because this hope you cling to is nothing more than a fever dream, an exercise in futility. Even should you slay the Sin-Eaters, the world as we know it is beyond salvation. With what little land and resources remain, the people would be free only to starve. Before long, they would turn to violence, then to war, and ultimately usher themselves unto oblivion. They require a firm hand to shepherd them from the edge. The hand of a king. Nay, a god. I will see their dreams fulfilled, their wishes granted. I will give them peace, order, and they shall never want for bliss. Men are fickle creatures who entertain vague ideals without the faintest notion what they cost. But a little fear can go a long way.
You talk as if you're not a man. What the fuck?
What it is, they
He has god complex.
Yeah, no doubt, but still.
Sanctuary. And they shall find none in this world save that which I afford them.
You're
I mean, how the hell do you think he's leaning up
the
against the
Sin-Eaters
Sin-Eater right now?
exist.
Yeah.
To unite the world under my dominion.
No. There's his fucking...
The 8th Umbral Era.
What was that?
A minor epiphany, nothing more.
I thought he was going to
You
teleport
have always
away
held sway
then.
over those around you. Those who defy you must submit or die. What sits before me is the inevitable result of bloated privilege and unchecked power. But man is more resilient than you think. His achievements are not the product of violence and bloodshed, but compassion and understanding. This calamity is but another crisis to be overcome. And we will, once we eliminate the Sin-Eaters.
You poor deluded fool. These people care not for the morrow. They care only for the now, and the contentment they lack. What good is a paradise to them if it is 1,000 years in the making, or even 100?
It's not 1,000 years. It's tomorrow.
You underestimate them, Lord Vorthry. They see further than you think. I have beheld it in the blood and sweat and tears of those who would sacrifice everything for a future they may never know, that their children may never know. I have beheld it in the hopes and dreams of those who came before, which we bequeath to those who come after, that they might in turn build upon the foundations laid by our forebears. These are the bonds which hold man and his world together, not your gilded chains, and I will resist your every effort to shackle him.
Nice.
In summary,
I
you will
love the
continue
Exarch
to
as a
support
character.
the villains hunting my Sin Eaters?
With tremendous enthusiasm, for I have faith in the future they would build.
I love that as a response with tremendous enthusiasm.
Oh, why do I even bother? Fools, the lot of you! So naive! So painfully predictable!
Angie baby man.
Did you imagine I did not
Angie.
know your mind? That I would wait until after this meeting to dispatch my forces? Even as we speak, they march to the Sin Eaters' defense. Insurrection will not be tolerated!
Uh-huh.
The people of this world are mine to rule, mine to command. And you are no exception!
Oh, he was
Yeah, he was never there.
How did he?
Nice. Did the same fucking move as Emmett.
I will not stand for this!
Angie baby
And
man.
once again, he's on the floor like a fucking baby.
This is why we call him Angie baby man, because he does this every time.
Angie baby.
Angie baby.
Angie baby.
Ruh-roh.
Oh, look, it's,
Oh shit, Ranjit back.
Nyanji, yeah, fucking Dragon Ball assassin over there.
Yeah, the
I wonder
Exarch's
how quickly,
character.
I wonder how easily we can just lie to them and be like, he's not here.
You speak for the Knights Blessed?
Oh, look who he has behind him.
I do.
Oh.
I presume that is your doing. If you have come to parley, I must insist that you first return him to us.
You're in no position to make demands.
Oh yeah, those are the Children of the Night.
Those are the, what are they called?
The more radical ones.
That's what, the radicalists.
Yep.
By Lord Vorthry's decree, Raktika now falls under the governance of Yulmore. You will henceforth answer to us.
Is that so? And the children of the Everlasting Dark have acquiesced to this madness?
We have reached an accord, yes. Too many times have the Knights Blessed shunned Yulmore's overtures of friendship. The risk that you harbor hostile intentions has grown too great to ignore. Therefore, his lordship has claimed dominion over this forest and bestowed executive authority upon the children of the Everlasting Dark.
In his wisdom, Lord Vorthry has agreed to recognize ours as the only permissible expression of dark worship. It's one true faith. You and your false creed are a blight on these woods. A foul, unholy corruption that must be cleansed.
Oh boy, we're doing the religion thing again.
Little wonder the warrior of darkness
quickest
visits
one.
both Lakeland and Ilmeg, yet shuns Raktika. Your perverted teachings hold blessed shadow at bay.
You have accepted the yoke of Yulmore to spite us, then? Fools. Darkness will never return to these skies while they hold sway.
It's good to see
Those
you,
of you minded to obey his lordship are to make for woven oath with all haste. We will leave you, that you may have time to prepare.
Woven oath? Are you suggesting we abandon our faith to join those zealots?
What has your faith afforded you thus far? Nothing! We will guide you along the righteous path.
And should we refuse?
Anyone found here upon our return will be considered a traitor to Yulmore, and dealt with as such.
Tabitha just insulting the fucking Vol 3 like every opportunity they got. You're doing good. Don't get me wrong.
That's why I keep Googling, because Tabitha's got the good shit.
Fucking fantastic is what it is.
We will discuss these developments after I have tended to our casualty.
Noted. Oh, are you, Tabitha, my mightiest, YY? Is it the two of you that are, like, my mightiest? Tabitha and YY?
Ooh, spooky music, ooh.
Ooh, spooky music. Alright, hand in the quest. Yep.
I'm just gonna dance on the table.
I still get auto mods going off Tabitha. That happens. Look at Sash.
Oh yeah. There's a reason why we say, oh shit, Ranjit.
Oh shit, Ranjit. The guards have been afflicted with the most terrible and efficacious poison. We have attempted all manner of healing incantations. Alas, his condition remains unchanged. At present, we can slow the poison's advance. I pray it will afford us sufficient time to find a cure. Most likely because of the fucking what's-a-mahoozy peoples. Blue spirit weapon. Nice. Let's see how easy it is to get this weapon before the end of the night. Oh, he thinking. He thinking. How fareth the young god? The poison spread throughout his system long before he was brought here. At present, there is naught we can do but try to ease his pains. We do not blame ourselves, my friend. All that can be done has been done. Even as we reached him sooner, it would have made little difference. The children deploy countless poisons. Finding a suitable antidote is a nigh impossible task. Is that him crying? What are the rest of the blessed? How have they taken the news of the Ulmore's generous proposition? With anger and dismay, we cannot hope to oppose both them and the children. I considered a convocation of all the knights blessed that we might consider their ultimatum, but I know how they will answer. Master Matoya, I am truly sorry. We will not, cannot, abandon our faith. But there is no reason for you to suffer our decision. Your work is not done yet, and you still have time to flee. Flee? I am not wont to run from my troubles. In fact, with Grant's arrival, I am minded to take the offensive. The Ulmorian's presence here plainly stems from a desire to protect the Light Wardens. I say we seek it out and slay the creature before they return. Were darkness to fall over Raktika, they would have no cause to remain. All of which is rather easier said than done. Unless, of course, you finally deciphered that tablet. I have. As a matter of fact, and with it we can prepare everything we need to enter Yixmaja. What say you all? We will need to act quickly, but I believe it can be done. We cannot deny our fate, but one course lieth before us. We are villains, are we not? Nice. Yay! We got a child's approval for being villains. Good for us. Good. I leave the blessed in your capable hands, Runar. Very well. Look at him. Look at him. He doesn't want to take responsibility. Look at this fucking himbo cat. He doesn't want any of that.
With responsibility. He just doesn't want you stole to leave.
No, okay. I see there is no changing your mind, but oh, that is dark. I swear to keep the blessed safe. I didn't hear your question. Oh, I didn't have a question. According to the tablet, we will first need to obtain a seal used to identify the allies of Ronka in times past. One such seal should be waiting for us in a complex of underwater ruins not far from here. You have some experience with subaquatic excursions, do you not? Yay. Then this should prove a simple task for you. The ruins we seek are at the bottom of Lake Tusimikta. While you see to that, Minfilia and I will remain here to help shore up Slitherboro's defenses. Your aid shall be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I didn't have any questions on why. Oh, hang on, is there like another... Oh wait, this way. Have you ever faced with mouthguard braces for sport? Have I ever faced with mouthguard or braces? I've had to wear a mouthguard or a brace, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, this is the, this is the blue tick. I don't need to see this one.
Aww.
I'm just thinking of the fucking Final Fantasy WoW refugees in Final Fantasy or something like that, where it's like, look at me, look at me. You know, if you actually went through and reading the story, you might actually like it. What was that fucking? I need to find that video now, where it's like that, just that dude just like absolutely like shaking a Lalafell up and down of like the whole like you should not be skipping this stuff. People have worked on this. You should read.
Yeah. Look, all I'm gonna say is when you get the next cutscene from that particular questline, don't skip it.
Okay. You mean the one that's right here?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then, let's have a watch. It's right here.
TLDR is the Aura dude has had a vision of a god.
Okay.
And he's going to find him.
Out of my way, gay boy! I shall be liberating my divine justice from this mortal shell. Have you seen that
so now
meme?
his friend's like, I have to go find him because he's fucking crazy and I don't want him to...
Yeah, it very much feels like that meme of, you're not ascending to godhood, you're just dehydrated.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. Lahe. Lahe. I meant this. Have you ever faced with... Yeah, I have. I'm pretty sure I've had to wear them. Alright. Lahe. Enough, Quinfort! Even you should recognize the dangers of wandering off alone in these woods. Would you like to do, Quinfort some... You really have gone mad, haven't you?
Mock me all you like, Valen, but now you will bear witness to the truth with your own eyes. Behold, the divine protector of Ronka, the great serpent of legend!
No! It can't be! That's the great serpent? I see nothing great about that. What is it exactly? I refuse to believe that's a serpent. Please tell me you're joking.
Don't be jealous, Valen. The will of the wood works in mysterious ways, and this serpent is the key to our deliverance.
It's like a bee with no wings.
He's the great serpent of Ronka. He is a good boy.
Little do we know, the serpent is hiding in that amber that is actually blue. Oh my god, there's another quest. Oh, it's a blue tick, but let's be real, like...
I think it's a blue tick for other reasons.
Yeah, it's gonna be like one where it's like, I'm gonna have to go several leagues down. No, like, I will get to you later.
Don't worry about it right now. I just wanted you to see that bit, and also fucking... Where is he? There we go.
The fucking
Recognize?
bee. Yeah, I recognize the... I know a bee when I see one. It's a
It's the great serpent of Ronka.
It's a bee.
No, he is Noodle.
It's a bee. Chat,
No.
that's a bee. When you... What the fuck? Oh, god fucking damn it. What the hell just... If you...
He's the great... Oh, please tell me you're giving
Oh...
Ooh, crafted gear. Nice. Hot.
I don't know if I should be accepting this so soon. It's my shit.
Level, isn't it?
Like, I'm at 400, and then this jumps me all the way to 515.
Do it. Do it.
Alright, let me give them an... I'll give them an egg for their thank you.
Chances are he made it specifically for you, man.
You're probably right.
Also, he said big ad break, so we can't hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so I can't hear you. Oh, no, what the f... Oh, because these are the... Okay, yeah. Another egg. Egg.
Grant, are you getting things traded to you?
You know I don't normally like it when... Oh my god. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'll give you the whole set.
But I get nice things. Why are you getting all the nice things?
I don't know.
You got a gear set, didn't you?
I got a staff, yeah.
Alright, what does it look...
I'm being...
that's pretty nice. That looks pretty nice. You can't tell me it doesn't look pretty nice.
It does look pretty decent. I like it. It's cool. I'm still gonna probably put my I'm probably still gonna put my glamour on it, let's be real.
Yeah, but at the very least.
Hilda just finished Heaven's Sword. Oh.
You went this far with Shadowbringers with level 70 gear? I went through Shadowbringers as intended when it first came out, okay? We were only at level 70 when Shadowbringers started, and I've gone through this journey as is, okay? I want it to be known that I don't normally do this, okay? I don't normally just go all the way to, like, the level 80 gear. Like, even when we unlocked, like, Idleshire before the end of Heavensward, I didn't get the end game gear for Heavensward until we were, you know, well into the patch content. Are you the two of you are having fun?
Tech, if you need a hand with Stormblood, let me know. I'm pretty much at post patch, and Grant's pretty well past it all too.
Yeah, I'm going through a lot of the what's-my-whoosies, Shadowbringers,
so
as you can see.
Gamer Tech Chub just got back onto it. He's in Brunhilde, and he's just finished Heavensward, which means he's just starting Stormblood now.
Yeah. All right, hang on. I need to do the thing. Here we go.
Yeah, I need story content as well.
Bam. Boom.
That man is dead.
Solicus Gonagus.
I love that.
And then...
I love that.
Lahi? Lahi? Alright, hang on. Alright, what's... ready for swim. Shoot us, restore this event. If my interpretation, the order from the 3 commandments will follow. Give praise unto the snake by strength. Cookie for YY! There's a text on the box that reads 50k dental warranty, what do you think it would mean? I think it's 50,000 times the use of your teeth. So if you like bite the mouth guard 50 times, you're okay. That's my guess on why it's saying 50k. Okay, so I need to remember praise unto the snake, by its strength do our lands prosper. Be as the opopo, rival thy kin, as all parts seek betterment, so too does the whole. Be as the wolf, move as one, peace come to all who seek harmony with their kin. Okay, so it's just the monk poses, snake, bird, and monkey. Or snake, cat, and monkey. This is...
Wolves are cats now?
Just because that's the stance with the monks. It's gonna be easier to remember.
Night Sky Gem paid me to say good night, Zeeb.
Good night, Sky. You have a good night. Sleep tight. Hopefully you have a wonderful sleep. I am going to be going on for a little bit, just a teeny bit longer. The tablet says, "Naught of the placement, size, or appearance of the monuments, alas. Hopefully all will become clear when you reach the bottom of the lake. Go safely." Alright, so now I gotta go swim in a lake. Lahi! I still can't get over the fucking Lahi! Alrighty, shift... Is it shift space? No, it's control space.
Control.
Thank you. There is a $sign. I don't know. I don't use mouth guards very often. I only use them for sport. Long ago when I did sport. Alright, I think it's... Alright, I'm gonna... How the fuck were they... Oh. Oh, hang on. This way, maybe. This is gonna be funky. What... Oh, what did I do as a sport? Soccer, rugby, both types of rugby in Australia, AFL, and fencing. Cricket. Oh yeah, cricket was another thing I did. Oh wow, look at the two of you with your fucking mounts flying around.
You can do that too.
No, not in the water.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I can. Oh, okay. Which way? Where am I? Hang on. Oh, wait. So find the first statue.
First statue
that's the
snake, right?
Yeah. So the first statue is snake. That's wolf. Wait, hang on. No. Wait, huh? The coveted halls of Dwa. I don't know. Oh, there's another kid. Okay. Hey, serpent. There's the thingy-majiggy. You find the snake statue. Place your palm upon the snake statue. Yes, please. You sense something stir inside. Alright, so now we need the second statue, which is the monkey? Oh, it's the wolf. Oh, look at that, Corel. It's the fucking cat.
Wrong statue.
Oh, fuck. I saw sparkly and I was like, oh yeah, I need to use this one. I'm an idiot.
No.
All right. Well, the poison is not a problem for after 50 seconds.
I'll go out here on the fucking reindeer.
Alrighty, so now I need to find the wolf. Alright, hopefully. Colibri. No, it's not the colibri. Wolf, there we go. I got it technically right. Once more, you sense something stir somewhere in the lake. Perhaps the chamber containing the seal is broken. Nice. I will figure this out. Is it down here? Looks like it's down here. Yep. Revealing a pedestal upon which rests a medallion. You take it and secure it in your clothing.
Oh god, he has the long boy.
What the fuck is that? It looks like a seaweed.
It's a cactus. It's a long boy.
Where have your muscle transformation buttons gone? Those are currently disabled while there's been this whole Twitch TOS thing that has been going off. So rather than pose any sort of risk to my channel while there's currently like a second wave of just exorbitant amount of reporting and hate raids and shit, I just think it's safer just to not have that for probably the rest of the year, to be honest with you. So I am in a need of like re-evaluating like my stream layout and the redeems and what have you, which I think is appropriate to do for 2024. Plus I need to figure out like what my schedule is going to be like on different days. You get so many reports? I don't get any reports, but this is a preventative measure to avoid potential reports and what have you. Yes, here is a medallion of the Ronka, the owl people. I'm assuming they're owl people because of the owl medallion. Bears the owl insignia of the Empire. There we go. There can be no doubt. The seal of the Ronka. Well done, Grant. We can begin our preparations. Oh, yay. I got a new weapons coffer and everything. And it's not applicable because I now have all this gear that was given to me. Alright, actually, hang on. One of the things I will do... Because I don't... I'm gonna use all the coffers on the Dark Knight shit that I have. Wait, what? Can't use it. You can only carry one true icebreaker. Ifrit's thingy-madiggy. The Mogpen thingy-madiggy. Crag thingy-madiggy. Oh, there's my Palico. Sorry, I just have to, like, grab a lot of it. How did I get the pepperoni pizza? I do not remember getting these.
I remember you buying that.
No.
What is happening with my game right now?
I don't know.
Oh, I lost connection to the server for some reason.
There we go. Dink donk.
Sure what happened there.
Who was the bad boy and got pixelated? Oh, I got pixelated. You pixelated me, though. Why? That was you. Alright, okay, that should be everything. At one point, I'll need to figure out what the hell I'm doing with all this. Dink, donk. Unable to apply glamour plates. That's understandable. Would waste no time in heading to Mixalia. Panda!
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. Bearing the seal should be responsible to enter unmolested. Could you pick better words, Y'shtola? No one says unmolested anymore. They will go ahead to Silverbroth and inform the others when you have recovered from your excursion. Meet us in the cavern leading east out of the village. Alright, here's my bestest boy. Okay, you guys, like... Sash, you greatly misunderstand, like... Think of the theme, me and, Nahag.
What do you mean? What He's a good boy.
What do you... No! No!
Yeah.
No!
He's a good boy. Why?
He is a three-headed dog that looks to be guarding Cerberus, compared to a Sheba with a little like neck thingy-majiggy as if he just got out of the barber. Your chinchilla makes more sense. Yep, that's fine.
Wrong car.
Wrong. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Oh my god. Actually, hang on a second. Does he have, however, because it's happened every stream so far since I've moved here, or since we've got this. Does he have the bird? All right, we're ready. We're ready for our fat bird march.
If he doesn't have the bird.
Does he have the bird? Yeah.
There's another special one, so there you go.
Alrighty then. Let's go. There's this. So if you wanted context, last week and the last 2 or 3 times that I've now played Final Fantasy XIV, this is what's happened. We get the fat chocobos. I'm lost. This way. Yes, I am correct. That way.
Chocobo train is very important.
Yeah, look at this. Oh, there we go. So single file, single file. That is not single file.
It's fine. I'll follow him.
Okay. All right. Okay. Look. Okay, I think you can come.
Yeah, that looks right.
All right. Here we go. You mart around on obese horse birds. Yes. It's so silly. I love it. The music just makes it just so comedic. Dun, 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 dun. Linda Dean, thank you for the follow. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Linda Dean. Linda Dean. Oh, don't you. Good, you're here. Renar opened the gate for us but moments ago. Beyond lies Yixmaja and presumably the Light Warden. It did not take long for the Woods Protectors to find me when last I came here, and I expect them to fall upon us just as quickly this time. Though we carry the seal, that is no reason for us to let down our guard. Now, let us seek out the Warden and put an end to its reign over these woods. Oops, excuse me. Is this gonna unlock a dungeon? At like fucking 9:30? Okay, cool. Because if it's like just this mission and then there's one other mission to do and that one other mission is the dungeon, then we'll leave that one for like the next week. Lahi? Oh wait, what am I thinking? I could be... Hang on. I'm an idiot. It was close.
Are you guys riding Fat Chocobo?
Linda Dean. I swear that's what I said. Linda Dean.
Linda Dean's nuts.
Deanne.
Oh, that didn't work. Hang on. There we go.
Yay!
Deanne. Oh. Linda Deanne. I don't know why.
Linda Deanne's nuts. I don't.
You already did that joke. You don't get to use it again after you just used it 5 minutes ago.
But I wanna.
Less than 5 minutes ago.
But I wanna. Jokes
what is
on
with
how
this
I
Dutch
life
angle?
Yes.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Nope, they're heading into spoiler territory. We're gonna bounce, people. Bounce!
It would seem we have found them.
Fucking band of merry men. Rabbit people!
Who else would you think was out
You
here?
trespass upon sacred ground! Be gone!
Cap? Why couldn't Cap be a rabbit girl? Listen to this accent. Hi. I was not paying attention.
Wait!
we did not come to!
Ooh. Fucking dragoons trying to get work done before the tank comes in. Is this your card?
Stop! We mean you no harm.
Effective.
Sister, is that...
Wait, why do they have gems in their heads? Are they supposed to be like the,
As is customary, we come bearing the seal of the Emperor.
the Garlemald? What the fuck?
No, well, that's the third eye, but she just has a gemstone on her head.
The fuck?
It appears to be genuine. Then perhaps there's yet hope.
Perhaps.
Oh. Mommy.
We acknowledge your seal, but we must be certain of its authenticity. Follow the azure flowers to our village. There we will judge if you are friend or foe.
Can we be more than friends?
Try not to stray from the path. All right?
We won't, Dragoon.
Follow the flowers. Would it kill them to escort us?
No, follow the flowers, bitch.
I hate to see you go, but I love watching you leave.
But if it affords us an opportunity to investigate Ixmaya, fine.
Apparently, canonically as well, like the women of like the rabbit people, Viera, thank you. It's the women that are like, you know, aggressive and are. Oh, hang on, wrong one. There we go.
So they kind of brought it in later when they added males as a playable race.
Yep.
But there is one that appears in the storyline. So they are around. It's just that most, if not none of them, live in this particular village.
Yep. It just looks so silly.
That's why it's wonderful. As for how they maintain their population, that gets revealed in a minute.
Yeah, I imagine they're just very aggressive, and they're like, it's just like, you should be flirting with me. I'll need to find the TikTok. Oh, your fat bird was in the way of me talking to the sexy lady.
Wow.
Look at her. Look at her, chat. She's amazing. Straight to the point. Look at this redhead. Look at her. Oh. Bow wheel. She's a ranged DPS. Red hair. Looks to kill you. It's amazing. She's a blasphemous. Timeout. Ban him. Tabitha. Gone. Wiped. You have no riz. You have no excuse. Ow. There's no mistaking the crest of the royal family. It is of proper size, and by its weight is plain it was made with gold. The seal is indeed genuine. For 3,000 years we have waited for this moment, and now you are finally here. I bid you welcome, allies of Ronka. I am Almit. Chieftain! Oh, she's a chief! She's a chiefness!
I feel like me and Code need to go.
That's her bratty sister, and Samet, a pleasure. We're beginning to lose hope that you would come. Look, I have to deal with Code going fucking gaga on Halcyon because of daddy vibes. These are troubled times for my people, though I can but imagine what has compelled you to venture into our woods. You must be tired after your journey. Come, take your ease. Abso-fucking-lutely. If you'd like, I'll show you around the village, though I must warn you, it is a long way down to the forest floor, so watch your step.
And this is where Grant goes overtime and plays for an additional 4 hours.
Oh. Shush. 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 YY is almost done drawing one pretty dog. It should be interesting to see. Oh, I have a Discord, YY, and there's an art section. So long as it's safe for work, you're welcome to post your work inside the art section. You'll find all sorts of levels of artistry. So don't feel like you only have to send like the bestest of the best, 100 layers of, you know, high quality shading with the highlights and the detailed backgrounds. You can get away with a sketch and a blue square for your background. And it's not even like a blue square that's like massive. It's just a blue square just to make you know that the page isn't blank. Which reminds me, I need to get the thing. All right, I'll...
By the way, you know Code's doing the Asahi bit, right?
One moment. Oh.
Grant, why am I being stared at?
What? Why? What? What?
I'm being stared at. Why am I being stared at?
No, you're not. I'm thinking.
You're thinking. You're thinking,
Yes.
so you moved everyone to stare at me.
No, you don't know that I'm staring at your stream.
No, your stream was staring at me. I was looking over at your stream and I saw it was zoomed in on me.
We were just interested in where you were in the Stormblood patches.
We are up to the prisoner exchange.
Ah, okay.
So not that far left to go until I'm at
at the Shadowbringers.
Shadowbringers.
Because
so Grant's gonna go overtime because he's got gaga eyes.
No, I don't know if I should, because like
what is Grant gargaring over the bunny girl?
Yeah.
Look, not all of them. Just the best one, the redhead chieftainess, okay? She's the best one.
Grant having goo eyes for the bunny girl.
The redhead bunny girl, okay? There's more to her than just being a bunny girl, okay?
I'm waiting for Grant to go and change his character's hair to red.
No,
yeah,
I'm not.
Yep.
I'm not that petty.
Yep.
I'm
confirmed.
I'm sick. Look, I like red hair. Don't get me wrong. Redheads are like my top favorite. Blondes are like a close second. But I don't have that kind of thing of like I am going to emulate this love interest kind of thing. I'm not for that. I'm interested in a contrast to the love interest.
Grant confirmed. Grant has a thing for rangers. That enough red for you, Grant?
Alrighty. You know what? We're gonna go out raiding.
Oh, is Grant done, are you?
I'm done. And I was meaning to raid into this person for a while because they were, I believe it's technically a birthday stream for them or something or rather, and they're doing some karaoke nonsense. So if you were sick and tired of...
Oh, who's this?
Puffin.
Oh, Puffin. I didn't know it was their birthday.
I think it's their birthday. Hang on a sec. I'll check in with them. Hang on a sec.
Well, we are going to keep going with more Final Fantasy, so I'll leave you to raid out. I might head over to my Discord for now. And I'll talk to you guys a little later on.
Alrighty then.
Have a good raid out, Grant.
Thank you. I'm just needing to get clarification on which one it is. Oh wait, it'll be in their thingy-madiggy from their it will say what it, because it's either their anniversary or okay, so was it oh, it's just them being drunk karaoke streaming. Okay, I thought it was like for an anniversary or some shit. Still, karaoke is funny, and we're gonna give them a little bit of fun, okay? So if you're interested in more MMO stuff, I recommend heading on over to Code the Yoshi's channel. Hang on a second. So I'll do a shout out to Code the Yoshi. If you're interested in more MMO stuff, they're a little bit behind me right now, but they're at the patch content of Stormblood, so they're not that far behind. But meanwhile, you and I chat. We're gonna go raid into Mixpuffin. Sash, thank you so much for joining in with me again. It's been a regular thing. I'm gonna have to like promote you in my chat or something like that.
No, you don't need to do that.
Are you sure? I need someone to deal with the auto mod. I don't want to alt tab all the time. You make it sound like as this is you make it sound like as if I was just giving you something nice.
I mean, if you want to, I already mod for Tazia as well.
Yeah. we'll figure it out in the future. All right, we're gonna go raid into Mixpuffin now. The raid message is.
I lost my mind at a redhead.
You lost. All right. This is the raid message, which is Sing I'm Just Ken. That is my personal favorite song. I've done a karaoke of that one time, and I want to try and get better with it because it's just such a great song. Of all the different Barbie songs, it's I'm Just Ken. It's that fucking Ryan Gosling thing of he just like me for real. That's what it's like, especially when you sing I'm Just Ken. So anyone can sing it. But yeah, thank you everyone who came along to tonight's stream. I greatly appreciate it. Once again, give a thank you over to Sashera Era for joining in with me and helping me out here and there and being a wonderful guest. And I will I'll get a stream schedule out at some point in the future, but I will see you all next time. Bye for now.